Hello and welcome to Plat Chat VALORANT episode 48. It's the regular crew, but everyone apart from Avast had some pretty decent accomplishments this week. I don't mean to single out Avast as just the sole person who did nothing all week long.
Yep.
It's kind of how it feels like, though. Did you place third in a Valorant tournament, Avast?
I did not. No, I did not. But instead, I stopped a dog from dying after she ate like 5 pounds of chocolate in my room. So, you know what? Now you're feeling bad, aren't you?
Yeah,
now
I
you're
am.
feeling bad. You idiot. And guess what? She probably wouldn't have died from the chocolate anyways. It was, in fact, more likely going to be the wrappers that she consumed like 8 tons of plastic with it, too.
Oh, wow.
So now you feel stupid for believing that was the reason. You feel dumb and stupid.
I do. I do feel dumb and stupid every time I talk to you. You erase brain cells from my mind. I want to give a shout out to Balla as well for just hard carrying us with his IGL in the entire time. If you weren't, listen, I can understand if you weren't following the escapades of the Plat Chat VALORANT crew as we cruise through a tournament with Van Silly, but you got to take a look at some of the clips that Balla was putting out here. He actually embodied by the spirit of Shazam. His open on Split was a masterpiece.
Yeah, I kind of pooped on everybody on Split, but all of you guys carried the other maps, so because I was IGLing.
True.
I was everybody kind of popped, and for a bunch of Plat players, it's kind of crazy that we dominated that hard.
Yeah, it was
not bad.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
What were the average rankings of the tournament? Our team,
We
our
tied
average ranking.
Shangari's team.
Yeah.
Really?
We went 5-2 with easily the lowest ranked rating average of any of the teams.
Yeah, you, me, and Bren dragged that to the fucking basement.
Yeah. Plat won, by the way, right now. not doing particularly well.
That's just because it's early in the season. Just give it a couple more weeks. This guy's going to be the best Astra in Radiant.
Yeah. You know what might help me get there? The new agent. Apparently, it's been leaked.
What a sec! This is why they pay this guy
sick.
big money.
Oh my god.
So yeah, the new agent KO, which I'm really dumb. When someone showed me this to begin with, I thought it was okay backwards, and so I was like, oh, it's a play on the phrase, the word okay.
I suppose
it's like
that's like there's a double.
It could be an
entendre,
anagram for it.
Yeah,
but I mean,
double meaning type.
It clearly isn't, is it? It's KO,
it's
like
KO,
knockout.
Like,
yeah.
Yes.
So I'm just dumb. I'm a sponge for a brain. Have you
all
seen
three? No.
What? Sorry.
Could be all three. Why couldn't it be all three?
You could be all
KO,
three.
It could be okay.
It could. I think you're being too generous there, though. It's got a cool look to it. This is our first non-human agent as well. I think some of the pros were saying it's like one of the training bots decided to go rogue.
Oh my god. Robot?
Omen is an octopus, so that's not true. But
True. The only non-animal
biological.
Non-biological creature.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
I think that's worse.
This is what I imagine Avast would main. This is like this is what I imagine him as.
Well, the thing is, if it has the name KO, I hope it's a melee only agent. I hope it's just Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Well,
and then it walks around just punching people.
In the image on screen, they're holding a gun.
Yeah, but he
uses it to hit you rifle butt only. You only rifle butt.
That's how they nerfed the judge. You just have to melee with this.
It becomes a melee weapon.
It
no longer has pellets.
It looks like it's powered by Radianite or something. Do you think that's going to be the law? Is it? I do actually want to ask you, what are your hot takes for like the background of this agent? Where's it come from? What if you're writing the story? What is KO?
I mean, not even a hot take, but obviously it's Killjoy was creating a robot to defend the something, but then oh no, she cut the wrong wire and it's going rogue. I mean, that is obviously
defend this something, cut the wrong wire, and it's gone rogue.
Yeah, she invented she invented a robot. The intention was he could defuse the spike very quickly, but instead
what?
I don't know, diffuses her utility because I guess that's what she actually does. They do. That's genderless robot diffuses because that's what the leak is, that it's like a counter to Killjoy's utility in some way, but presumably it's all utility that could be placed.
Yeah,
not just specifically Killjoy. That would be
silly.
An odd design choice if they introduce an agent who could counter one agent's utility. And also, you can't see what the enemy team is playing before a game, so you're just hoping that they pick Killjoy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't really make sense, right?
No, that makes no sense. There are a series of images that have been leaked of KO in game, and they hint towards some of the abilities as well. There's a series of 3 images, one in which KO is fighting a Yoru who is flashed, which is leading people to believe that KO themselves has a flash, that it wasn't just a screenshot of Yoru self-flashing.
He's able to
deflect flashbangs.
Yeah, there's like some kind of deflection mechanic or some type of, you know what I mean?
Okay,
that would be cool actually, because he'd be purely like, it could be the first like purely anti-flash type of agent as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
what would the idea there be?
Isn't it like leaked that he's fully an initiator? Because then that would
be interesting.
I mean, well, here's the screenshot which has got people believing that he's got some anti-utility abilities, because you can see him here taking a fight. There appears to be some kind of pink aura around him. I'm guessing that's like an AoE marking, but that could actually be, I mean, that could literally just be an astral wall that he's disabling. I can't tell what the fuck is going on there.
Oh shit, yeah, you might be right about that.
I literally don't know.
It does look like an astral wall, although it kind of feels like the angles are wrong for that.
Exactly, it feels like it's curved, right?
But the Killjoy utility is stunned,
and that's the important
thing.
And
the Killjoy is right there.
Yeah, so clearly it can disable something.
Stunned.
Yeah,
but it is.
So we don't know whether
that would be super powerful as an initiator, right? If you had an AoE like EMP type of shit where you could walk into a site and all the util would be like stunned for a short period of time, because that would actually kind of roll like the Sentinels. Like
it's a jet dash on crack.
The thing is,
it's like the way that people try and jet dash to break trips or something like that. It's just, this character can just EMP an entire site.
Yeah.
You can get
it would have to be very limited, right? Because otherwise, especially if it affected anything outside the other Sentinels utility, right? Like, imagine if we were able to do this for like Astra Stars or like Viper or like the Viper Wall or something. That would be insanely powerful to the point where like you would never run another initiator because you could just enter any site for free without having to like clear util first. So like there has to be something going on with that.
I mean, if it can absorb, like if there's a Phoenix holding C site and you're pushing up C long on Haven, if it can just absorb the Phoenix throwing a molly into lane so you can just push right into the site, that would be ridiculous. If it's just utility that is solely preset, like trips
and stars and would also
like
account for that,
stars,
those are preset.
Yeah, stars, trips, like alarm bots, stuff like that.
Presumably Killjoy mollies as well, because those are preset. Cages, like there's so many questions.
Basically,
about how
the
this
Sentinel
works.
utility. What is that?
I don't know. See, some people have been theorizing that this is a flash, but since you've been talking about anti-flash, I'm wondering whether this is some ability where he can catch a flashbang. I don't know. That doesn't look like a pre-existing flash in the game, but now my brain is going in all sorts of
That looks
directions.
like he's firing out the marker that puts up the pink glowing thing.
Okay.
That's what it looks like to me.
That's the
do you think it could
pulse.
be like he sets it down maybe versus an AO and it's an AoE, but it's preset itself? That would make it a lot less strong if he can't just pop it at will, but rather he has to set it to clear the site, sort of like a lockdown.
Yeah.
But it's like a much smaller effect. That would make this a lot easier to deal with potentially.
Yeah.
Wasn't this guy like his code name while they were developing was Grenadier or something like that? Grenadier.
Oh
yeah.
So everybody was theorizing that all of his utility was nades, some sort of nade that did something else. Right.
Right.
So maybe that's one of them, and maybe they're all deployable like that, and he just throws them.
Yeah,
that would be
if
quite cool.
there's one thing Valorant players have been clamoring for on Reddit forums, etc., it's definitely another agent that has grenades that deal damage to you. I've been seeing a lot of people looking for that.
Yeah.
Bring back
Instant
2
damage.
paint shells for Rays, please. But I think my question would be, if he's an initiator, is there going to be another info gathering ability? Because Sky has the pupper, Sova has, recon and drone. Is he going to have some sort of intel gathering?
I like the idea, though, of this guy being almost a tank, where he's able to either be anti-flash or absorb some defensive utility to make space for other people in that way.
What if he has a shield?
No, not a literal shield.
Okay.
You can still shoot him in the face.
Okay.
But if you're trying to throw flashes to be able to set up, like as you're entering a site, this guy goes first. He's an initiator not because he sets up the rest of your team, but because he's literally going in first, absorbing utility.
But what if
that's very unique.
What if he had 200 HP and a shield? Oh, okay.
No.
I like how you're looking out for your Overwatch boys. It goes down to 5v5. We lose a tank. They need a job somewhere. So let's get in here and Valor. Yeah, tank agent. Perfect.
I mean, it would be interesting if it was a shield, but it wasn't like a shield for bullets. It was rather just it was like an inverse Astra wall where like it absorbs only utility, but you can shoot through it and you can kill them, right? Like that would be interesting because yeah, it would be sort of like a defense matrix, but it could be like a physical like shield in front of them still that absorbs, and then but you can just shoot through it, so it's the inverse Astra wall. Because that way you would still be able to just like deal with them as they enter the choke still.
Yeah, I mean, we are lacking so much information and wildly speculating, but I think there is an interesting idea at the crux of this, which is that any system in other esports that has, or any game actually, I'm not even going to limit it to esports, any game that has some kind of anti-ability character or like purchasable item is normally meta-defining. Like you just have to run it. Trophy systems in Call of Duty or Rainbow Six or whatever are just must picks. And I know that those are often kind of passive. Like you put them down somewhere and they just absorb a set amount of stuff. I think it's going to be a challenge in this game to make it something like that feel not like it has to be a must pick and not boring as well. There's got to be some level of thought process. Like you have to create the agent where there's some brain power required to counter their utility. It's not just oh well, they always push this choke, so I'm just going to put an item in this choke that stops stuff. That would be really boring.
I mean we had
requiring timing and stuff would be nice. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Having a game sense and needing to use it, intuition, etc. I mean, I suppose we'll see. It might also just be a thing where, this might be the end of the post plant meta. Just stick a thing on the spike while you're trying to defuse, and
wouldn't that be the most boring shit?
Firing mollies off, and they're just getting slurped up into the black hole.
That's the thing that I don't like, though. If the counter to the post plant meta is something as dull as play this guy and just save one of his abilities until the end of the round and put it on the spike, that is so dull.
It is.
Also, as we're talking about this, the reveal trailer for KO just went live.
Wait, did it?
The reveal trailer literally just went live. Yep.
Kurt, pull it up.
Pull it up.
Pull that fucking...
I'm going to watch it because I can never watch it from your guys' screen, so I'm just going to watch it independently.
I'm going to say like we're doing a watch party.
Oh my God.
Wait. Okay, it's up. There we go.
We don't have any volume, I think.
It's fine. We don't need it.
Yeah, please. Would you mind getting audio? I think it might be important because sometimes there's like lore snippets or some audio cue that we need.
Lines.
I need to know the lore. After they dropped that huge lore trailer at Masters, I feel like now I'm hooked. I'm hooked on lore.
All right, here we go.
What does it do?
Here we go. Wait,
what?
What?
Wait, what? Is this implying that it can rewind? You see this? This is the second time this has happened. It's like a tracer recall almost.
Wait. No, it's just...
Is this just a simulation for the character? Because I don't know. It seems like it's able to... What is it? Wait, did that remove
that disabled
Did that remove
stuff.
the utility? Yeah.
This is just him running a simulation in his head. He can't actually rewind time.
Look, it threw a nade too. It has a nade. I wonder if that makes you like vulnerable or something, or or maybe a suck or something like that.
This guy's cracked.
And this must be the ult.
Oh, this is the ult.
Okay. So now he's dripped out. He's
what did that do?
Out.
What, it gives you an aimbot?
I can't tell what happened.
He has aimbot.
He has self-revive.
No way, right?
He's in Apex Legends.
What the f-
I fucking knew.
Oh my god, the Omnic Wars. There it is.
What is this?
He's a tactical nuke.
I'm not sure
exactly. It's Brent's theory coming to life. He 1v1 somebody. Oh my god! You 1v1! It's Brent's theory!
No, that's not what it is.
Is it actually Brent's theory?
They don't go into the... Okay, so there's another... That is a flash.
Oh,
okay, so he has a flash. Okay.
So he has a flash.
So the knife disables utility, and there's a flash, and there's like a grenade of sorts.
That almost looks like a grab well.
What does his ult do?
I think we'll see it in a second here.
I can't tell what his ult was doing.
Was that the ult?
Do you think the ult is what disables more utility? Like, I don't know.
I can't
tell what the ult does.
Is
I
that
can't tell what the ult does.
Okay. All right, let's hold on. Chill for a moment. What?
What am I waiting for? Okay.
Well,
Okay.
Everybody calm down. This is a big moment.
All right. Wyatt, please take us through this large moment.
Okay, you need to take a deep breath. Okay, so first of all, I don't know what most of that was, but I do know. But I can tell you what I do know.
Okay.
He has a flash that looks a lot like a curveball. But like you just throw it and it rounded the corner.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
it went around the corner?
Yes, it looked a lot like a Phoenix flash.
Okay.
So it looks like he had a curveball. The one thing looked like
it looked more like a Yoru flash. Like, look, like it bounced it on the wall.
I'm slow motioning the gameplay section.
Okay. All right, Ball is slow motioning the gameplay section.
He just tossed it. He just underhand tossed it. Like
he just tossed it? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So he tosses it, it goes out a little bit. Okay, well, the one thing looked like a grav well that he threw.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a grav well.
It seemed to me like it made them like maybe vulnerable.
I think
they died so
it looked like the one guy got sucked into it though. We have to watch this in 0.25 speed.
Also, by the way, I went back and rewatched when he first popped his ult. It 100% disables utility because when he popped the ult, if you go look at that first sequence, he takes a duel with a killjoy and the turret is already disabled. It has like an icon above it when he takes the duel.
But
so
I
his
thought that's
ult
what the
100% look. I don't know. All I know is that his ult 100% seems like it's going to remove utility on the entry. Because if you look at that duel afterwards, it is the Killjoy turret has an icon above it when he enters, and he's already taken the duel with the Killjoy, and she's not dead yet.
So, but this beginning of the trailer is just showcasing how you as a player can run into utility and mess up. This is not actually showing anything important. It's just setting up like why you would want to use his abilities.
Yes.
The knife clearly removes utility. I mean, every time it's shown. Some utility is gone.
At the very least, it reveals
That's just a grenade.
Because they might not have left. It might not have left, but it revealed it at least.
I think that thing he throws to the stage there is just a grenade
to clear a corner.
Yeah, I think that's just a nade.
Okay.
Now,
what was that?
Can we 0.25 this?
Because this is...
look, when he walks into the site here, you can see that there's going to be an icon above the Killjoy turret, but the Killjoy is still alive, but the turret is not firing.
Okay.
So I'm fairly certain his ult disables utility.
I wonder what the AoE is, because that's
what it looks like.
It's pretty big because look how far away this turret is when he enters. Like legitimately, it seems like it's a relatively decent radius.
Domain expansion.
Oh yeah, I mean that is an ult if I've ever seen one.
No, it's just a regular ability. He hits 3 of those around.
He goes. Okay.
Whoa. Okay, so you see now right here when he enters, look at the Killjoy. See, look, there's an icon. Look how far away it was. It was pretty far away.
Silva can still ult it. Or Silva can still ult, so it's not like a global.
Oh, yeah, you can see like the purple things off the wall as well. So just everything in that, it's just it's an EMP, but does he also just, I mean, it looks like he enters some other kind of mode.
It does, doesn't it? Is that just me, or does this look like he gets knocked rather than killed?
I might just be
yeah, there's a time.
Wait, there's a 15-second timer when he gets shot there.
But surely that can't just be like, that has to be during, right? That has to be cinematics, right? Or like,
because
his ult would be insanely good, wouldn't it? Because if he could clear util and have a revive, wouldn't that be like fucking crazy?
What is this just story?
What is happening?
This feels like maybe this is lore. Yeah, wait.
This feels like lore.
Yes, a tactical nuke. What?
This is probably like a teaser for the episode 3 thing that they do.
That's what I'm thinking. That has to be a part of the lore. Planet. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it wasn't Bren's idea of it drags somebody to a 1v1 arena and they have to battle it out. Is apparently not true.
Unless, I mean, look at the screen right now. Look at the screen.
But if it was, then that would be Omen, because it was Omen that killed him, right? So,
I mean, I feel like that's more of like a lore thing where like Reyna is more like, hey, come deal with the bad guys. You know?
It does look like
definitely has a curveball as well.
Yeah. And then, okay, that just turns off. Wait, did that turn off the stars? Can you go back, Kurt?
That seems like it didn't. I don't think it turned off the stars.
They just didn't pop them.
Yeah.
No, what it does, I'm pretty sure it reveals utility that's hidden. I'm almost certain, right? Because it did that for the trips too, because the trips went from invisible to visible.
No, that blew up.
It flashed someone. It also flashed someone too.
No.
Do you see?
No.
Oh no, never mind. Okay.
It just there's a frame right there. You see where stuff blows up.
I do not see that frame, but I believe you.
I don't see the frame.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just.
What am I looking at?
No, it seems like it's the knife that's exploding.
Like, what does this do?
Well, see, if you go back to the beginning, where he plays versus the Cypher, look how the Cypher trips go from invisible to visible.
If that's all it does, though, that's terrible.
I mean, it's after this. There isn't that much hidden utility in the game.
You're gonna see. So he's gonna walk in and he's gonna throw the knife. He's gonna fucking do his kunai. He's gonna throw that out.
Okay, knife.
And then see, look, you can't see trips. Can't see those trips on a screen. And then right here, they become visible. And it was before he killed the Cypher.
Surely they deactivate as well, though, right? Like they become visible and they're off or something.
But also,
maybe
he throws it at the agent, not at the trips.
I mean, I think that might just be.
Well, he hit like the maybe I don't know.
It is a
That's
knife,
true.
so potentially it actually just does damage. And maybe if you hit the agent, they can't use abilities for a couple seconds. Like I'm guessing that's what the nade does too. It does damage and also debilitates them in some way.
Sure.
Because that's how everything has worked.
This trailer did not really elucidate things too.
I mean,
but you definitely know that his kit is based around disabling utility still, though. Like you can tell that much. You know that much for certain.
Yes. Also, I feel though that if the knife disabled utility and his ultimate did as well, there's got to be some significant difference between the two of them, which is why it's leading me to believe that he might also have a self-revive.
But also, I mean, there already is a significant difference in that the knife only does like it seems like the knife might only be able to work if you hit it with hit a very small area or hit the agent itself or something like that.
Yeah.
While the ult is obviously just like whenever in that area, everything is disabled. So the knife might have, it seems that's where the game sense component comes into play maybe with the knife, is that like you have to know which corners to clear to potentially hit the agent to deny the utility.
Dude, it's a 1v1 arena. The last clip again, like it's a 1v1 arena. He has a 15-second countdown and the spike explodes ostensibly, but they cut away. If
it's it is that, arena. Bren is a G. Look at that. Go back to that, Kurt. I'm sorry. You got to go back to the one where he throws the thing into hookah.
Yeah. Right here.
Oh, the jet dashes. Okay.
The jet dash.
Okay.
Interesting.
It seems like he's got multiple ways of throwing his grenade. I think it might be like an underhand and a curveball or something.
I mean, yeah, he just overhand. There was some force on that throw. Yeah, because what is
15 seconds?
He gets knocked. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a teammate can revive. If you need to run him with a Killjoy, and only Killjoy can bring him back when he gets knocked.
Okay, I mean, really weird.
Have there been any like this seems about the appropriate time for some random Russian gameplay leak?
Let's continue with the episode. Let's continue with the episode, and if there are gameplay leaks as we go through, then we'll revisit this topic. Obviously, new agents, incredibly cool. They've also committed to releasing, what was it, like 6 a year or something? It was crazy.
5 this year because they took one off for the map for Breeze.
Right. So
the content creators and stuff get access to release videos tomorrow at some point in the morning.
We're content creators.
Yeah, we create content. So when do I get to play?
Where's our stuff, right? Huh?
Yeah. Where's our stuff, huh?
Unlucky.
Okay. Boaster went viral in China. I'm sorry, but I just don't have a segue for that because it's a silly statement that I'm saying. Yeah. I feel like it's only boomers that use the phrase "go viral" anyway, but there's no other way of putting it. The people
go viral.
Boaster he was singing songs on his stream as he does, and Boaster's stream has blown up recently on Twitch because of it, not just his success, but his great personality as well. And
I mean, also half of it's a musical. Half of his stream is a musical.
It is.
Like it's not even just like Valorant gameplay. It's him just singing and dancing. Like it's like Les Miserables. Like for half the stream.
He's insanely talented at singing though as well. I was gonna say at music in general. I don't know what he plays. I've seen him play the ukulele. I assume he plays the keyboard because he has that in the background as well. But yeah, his singing voice is pretty spectacular. So he was doing this, I don't know, Chinese pop tune. I'm gonna assume. And it got posted on Bilibili, and now it's got...
Everyone's lost their mind.
Yeah, like 3 million views.
I mean, honestly, that's large. Especially because Valorant hasn't even released in China still.
Yeah. But also, that doesn't necessarily...
I don't think it
mean that all of
this
these were Valorant viewers.
That's true.
I have a feeling most of the people who watch this video...
They know nothing about Valorant.
Yeah. They're not aware.
Yeah, but
maybe.
Why did it go viral then? Like, they must know that.
Well, it's just like a white guy singing a popular Mandarin song.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's the case.
So then everyone in China's like, oh, that's cool. It'd be like if, like, I mean, I feel like that's a very common occurrence for like someone that doesn't.
To test this theory, Avast, you will now sing a popular Mandarin song.
Where's that one song where it's like, oh shit, I just closed. Okay. There was like that one song that was really popular. No. Listen. I closed the window. It was a song that was really popular on TikTok, and it had like this Chinese like Shaolin monk singing softly as he did it, and it was really popular. Okay. I have to find it. I could do at least part of that.
Was it popular with Americans or was it popular?
It was popular with like, it was a global popularity because it was like kind of a catchy song, but then like the video accompanying it was really funny because it was like this, like just like the Chinese monk just like singing, like it was really funny.
Okay. And but you're going to do a rendition of that and butcher it live on the show.
I don't remember all the song. I only remember like the first like stanza, like the first line of it.
This is really important, honestly. If you pull this off, you'll take Plat Chat to the next level.
Josh? Do you want it? Do you want us to blow up in China, huh?
I'm concerned here that this is not the most scientific of tests because you're supposed to compare like to like. You're supposed to control the variables. And I'm not sure that Avast has the same level of talent as Boaster does, or the same level of familiarity with the song he's about to sing, considering he can't remember the name or find the link.
I can't remember the name. You are correct.
Doesn't even know what... Listen, I guarantee Avast doesn't know any Mandarin.
It won't be for the same reasons. It's just going to be, oh, this white guy is just butchering our culture.
I found it.
Hey, this white guy is just butchering our culture. That's what's about to occur.
The thing is... Wait, I found the song. You should look at the cover art for the song, Kurt. I think this is the one.
This might be a good time to talk about Dazed leaving T1.
I'm trying to listen to the beginning.
No, that's the problem.
We can't.
That does look like Avast.
Yeah, it's like you sing the beginning, but it's like shui wow piao piao bei feng xiao xiao, and like you do that in the beginning, and that's the opening lines, and that was like the opening lines of the TikTok, and everyone like it's just fun. It's just fun. I don't know. It just became a meme of like you sing the opening lines to this song. So what I did it.
Is you spend too much time on TikTok,
and for that, China make us go viral. I did the first lines of that song, and I see. There you go.
You consider it to just be a transactional basis. Just
yes,
I am going to badly say some opening words of a song, and you make me famous now.
Okay, now I need to find the monk video. But go on.
Some seriousness though, like I do want to know if this is because we can speculate, but is this because just pretty white guy singing Chinese song? That's why, or is it actually like, oh, this is Boaster, like an esport guy doing this, and we're actually interested on when Valorant's going to launch? Because I think there are like the Chinese esports teams are starting to like look for teams and field players and stuff like that, even though the game isn't released, and it's waiting for like government approval to get released in China, which who knows when that's going to happen. But which side is it landing on? Because if it's the other side, then that is huge for Valorant.
It is. Yeah, it's pretty interesting, but I don't really know what to take away from it other than it's cool. Boaster's hit the big time. He can finally pursue his dreams of being a showman instead of being a pro Valorant player. He can move on and beyond. It's successfully acted as a springboard for his musical career. Talking about the run in Masters, though, and the springboard for Boaster's success, we wanted to do, coming out of Masters 2, a world power rankings, which is not going to just be the same as the order in which teams placed at Masters. We normally save stuff like this for the end of the episode, but we want to crack it out right at the beginning so that we have enough time to dedicate properly to it. So while Kurt loads up the thing, we will begin discussion. I mean, it's just Sentinels at number 1, right? Like, that's the first place to begin.
I want to propose something.
No,
you're not going to propose anything.
I'm kidding.
Wouldn't dare say the FPX number 1.
No. I would never do that.
Yeah.
Sentinels are number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, though.
Number 2, though.
That's Fnatic. I mean, come on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll
past that, number 3.
Let's set some ground rules.
We were actually pretty good on our power rankings last time. Like,
were they?
Yeah, they were not bad, except for us overrating Brazil. Like, we put Sentinels number 2.
Yeah, we maybe overrated Brazil, but everything else, which everyone made sure to remind us of 10 million times an hour whenever Brazil played. It's like, you guys overrated Brazil. Wyatt, he's the great deceiver. Never listening to him again.
I think the only unfortunate thing about the last one was that Heretics died.
Yeah, that is a big problem.
So they're just, I mean, they exist here as an option, but it would be very speculative, as will a lot of this be, because, or we could just leave it as this, the 10 best teams in the world are the Iceland placements.
No.
And let's move on to the next segment.
No, and we shall not do that. So, first of all, I want to set some kind of, what is the power ranking trying to achieve? Because I think the normal way of doing it would be like the past 3 months or something like that. But I feel like there are not as many regular tournaments in Valorant as there are in CS. They tend to be drawn out over a much longer period of time. So I think taking into account the whole of 2021, but obviously weighing Masters 2 way more than Masters 1 because it was actual global competition, makes sense to me. Does that
also LAN? So
yes, and LAN, of course.
So we're weighing it off of the results.
Yeah, the results of 2021.
Okay.
And with a heavy recency bias, because the most important games have also happened recently.
Oh,
sure.
Not future looking whatsoever, because that will change some things for me.
Like, I feel like we're going to have to inherently be...
We have to be a little future looking with teams like Heretics, for example, because they have passed.
Yeah.
But for other teams, I mean, who are the other teams where you'd... Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of these have had roster shuffles, so Ascend and stuff like that too.
What if... Yeah, I suppose the other option is like the just... Who do we think are the best right now in this moment?
Or not even right now, because some of them are dead. you mean who were the best?
No. I mean,
literally
right now.
Yeah.
Like literally right now.
Okay.
Who do we think are the best 10 teams?
Okay.
Obviously, we can use results of recent time to factor into that.
All right.
But it's just who do we think are the best 10 teams right now? Number 1, Fun plus Phoenix. I know. Okay, Sentinels.
Okay.
Number 2.
Fnatic.
It's still Fnatic. It's still Fnatic.
It's still Fnatic.
It's still Fnatic.
It's the different F.
I am a Fnatic stan. I will ride or die with this team. However, I can be critical because it is my team. Okay. I think that Fnatic should fall off a little bit after this tournament. I feel like they rely a lot on a heavy tactical prowess and rely so much on their bind that has not changed much at all since literally stage 1. Haven't made any agent adjustments, haven't really made any strat adjustments. They brought out really old stuff in the finals. They weren't doing anything new that I could really tell outside of just amazing gameplay from all of them. But because of that, I think that people will start to figure it out. They'll see, how they play on that map. I mean, they've lost on that map a lot of times. They also are still working out a lot of the different maps. I just think that the way that they play is going to be cycles for them. It won't be stay at the top for long periods of times. It'll be cycles. They'll go up to the top and then fall pretty hard, especially because they play in Europe.
The new agent could drastically impact the arithmetic for Fnatic, considering that especially for like their bind, part of the reason they're so good is how they use their utility, and having an agent that can like completely kind of roll utility could change how a lot of teams, especially very utility heavily dominated teams and how their setups is. Like it could affect everything, right? Like it could change.
That assumes a lot about how that utility.
It assumes a lot how it's working, right? But I'm just saying theoretically there is a possibility. But right now, I mean, I don't know of a way to put Fnatic less than second currently, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Who would overtake them? There really isn't a good candidate because any team in Europe can have that exact same argument proposed to them, which is that there is no dominant team in Europe. There's nobody that you would really put their money on it staying at the top of the scene. The only team that would have been like that is Heretics, because they showed that from First Strike to Masters 1 and then with a bit of a dip in Masters 2. But you would have still had confidence in their former roster had they stayed together. But that doesn't, I mean, you can't say that now because it's a totally different team.
Yeah, unfortunately, that Nisao having to leave just tanked that team.
Yeah, and overall,
when you lose, like potentially you're the best player, that might happen.
I think overall, just their team dynamic exploded as well.
Right,
they were having internal problems. So,
maybe to make this easier, we could take off some of the teams that we know won't be on the list.
Well, Arten, X10, Sharks.
Yeah, I mean X10,
Sharks as well.
I mean X10 are maybe on the cusp.
No, they're not. No, they're not even
cusp.
They're not even close. They're not even.
There's
close.
no way X10.
Not even on
the
cusp.
I'm just.
No, they're not close.
We only have so much space at the bottom.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just saying on the cusp. All right.
Yeah.
We only have so much space on the graphic, Josh. Unless Kurt just wants to delete some of the graphical elements here entirely.
Well, if we shuffle people down a couple of stages to free up some spots at 3rd and 4th, I think the question of number 3 is very interesting because you have Newturn who placed 3rd and have been dominant in Korea. They didn't drop a map on their qualification run. They are clearly the best team in Korea. There is no question about that. How many of the North American and European teams do you think Newturn are better than? Because Newturn did beat version 1, but I would argue that version 1 were the better team overall. Like, even though Newturn won that game in the 2 crazy overtime wins that they had, and they turned up massively to LAN, I still would power rank Newturn as lower than Liquid or version 1, or maybe also Cloud9 or FPX or some of these other teams too. I think there's a conversation to be had about that. But
they're definitely in the top 10 though. They're probably like 7th or 8th.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they might even be higher than that. I think there's good arguments to put them high up, but I don't feel like they're a lock for 3rd.
What would convince you to put Newturn over version 1? Do they just have to beat them again?
I think they would have had to have big successes against other teams. The win over version 1 was their only major victory when it came to Iceland, right? Am I forgetting something else?
No, you're right. It's just because V1 beat Liquid, so they didn't get to face Liquid, and then that side of the bracket was weak.
And then they went down to the lower bracket and they got, they went on to face Sentinels. They got stomped by Sentinels. Then they dropped down. They did actually take a map off Fnatic, which is really impressive. Mm-hmm. But when we're talking about teams like Liquid and V1, they should also be in the conversation for taking maps off Fnatic too. Then again, the third map was still pretty close.
I mean, and Liquid have a bunch of times too.
Yeah. The big fault for me for NewTurn is how shocking they looked against Sharks. They looked so bad, and then they end up taking that series. I was just like, what the hell is going on? Their V1 stuff to me was them just literally just turning into flow state. That was not how they were playing in Korea. That was not how they played against Sharks. That was just some other crazy bullshit that NewTurn pulled out that just won them that series. I don't know if they can do that again. That's why I rank them lower.
And I still, I mean, there are concerns as to the state of the roster. Maybe not concerns if you want to, or if you're of the belief that the roster transactions they're making will benefit them. But my question is still, if we're just going off current strength, they still just exist in the space where they have 2 maps that are just bad. Their map pool is, given how well they placed, it's astounding they placed that well, rather, given how bad their map pool actually is. And if they have to play most of these teams, it's like they're always just down a map in every series because they can't ban 2 maps. So they always play Haven and they always lose on Haven. I mean, that was the map that they got wrecked by Sharks on as well.
Yes, 13-5 loss. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like when we say that they played, or when you say, Balla, that they played badly against Sharks, it was only on Haven, which was a constant theme throughout the series, right? They still did well in those other 2 games. They just kind of clapped them in the other 2 maps. But yeah. It was shocking to see them come out of the gate with such a poor performance on that map. The question really is, who do you put in the third place? If
I don't feel strongly about any team in third. That's the problem.
That's the issue, isn't it?
It's kind of like it's almost a sad
by default. Or maybe Liquid by default because they. No,
I felt like Liquid really.
I don't think they impressed.
They didn't. They
not
weren't
at all.
I don't think they were bad, but they did not impress either. They were just.
I think they looked.
They were okay. They were just. I think they had an okay showing. We had a lot of high hopes for them. I think a lot off the basis of the bracket they were in as well, and they were just okay. I mean.
Maybe we add some of the EU teams that we know will be in the top 10, like FPX.
Okay, yeah, FPX are going to probably be in the top 10 somewhere.
Just add them in there somewhere, and potentially those guys are in the ratings for 4th, 5th.
I think Gambit are a top 10 team.
Gambit as well.
To get out of those current FPX and Gambit, just put them in like 9, 10 or something.
Yeah. And then I think also Cloud9 deserve to be put up there too.
I agree.
Considering how close their play has been recently, how young and promising that squad looks, the kind of developments they've made have been
and they just
exciting.
I mean, the top 3 in NA in the qualifier looked considerably better than the rest, and Cloud9 were a part of that.
Yeah.
They're one of the teams with a lot of potential. Like that in that qualifier, Floppy was playing with them for like so they're adding Zeppa, and also Floppy was playing with them for like a week or something before they had actually even played that tournament.
And reached new heights. Like that team has some stocks going with them.
Yeah. I'd quite like to go out on a limb here and say that we swap crew for Ascend as well. I think new Ascend with Zeke has large potential for success. I would argue more potential for success than G2 or Heretics, despite the fact that they've been trying to put in the big money to get better.
Or Heretics?
Yeah. I mean, new Heretics, I don't know exactly how that team is going to function. I'm not as up on the newest guy that they just added, Valorant, who I think came from somewhere. I can't even remember what his
My question for Ascend is, why did they suck in stage 2? They lost to who? Vitality?
Well, I mean, that was when we sort of learned that theoretically their coach was their brain previously, and then they didn't have access to that.
Yeah. But they also didn't they lose like a seeding game or something? Oh no, sorry, they beat Fnatic in a seeding game, but then they ended up losing to Vitality. Is that the run that they went on? Something like that? Yeah. I don't know. Is the honest
and they
answer.
lost to NIP in Challengers 1.
Yeah. I still think, though, that they're going to be up there. I think that they're going to be towards the bottom end of the top 10. But I think...
So they lost Coldamenta, right? Their IGL, their brain, like, they lost that guy. But I have faith in Bone Cold. Like, a lot of faith in him for whatever reason after well, maybe it's a curse that he came on back chat. But, like, I have big faith in that guy. And I think that adding Zeke actually makes this team somewhat more whole with Starkso and Zeke, both Polish guys, and he kind of fills slightly the same roles, which is going to be a little weird, but since they play so many different agents anyways on Ascend, I think this is still going to be good. I think not having as much structure will be good for this team, and that might be a good reason to say that, you know, without Coldamenta, things will be actually slightly better.
Yeah, I think the skill is just insane.
I'm okay with putting Ascend there.
Like I think it's tough to put anyone other than Ascend because Heretics doesn't exist anymore. So
well, they have artists.
Well,
and stuff,
but not like the old Heretics that we were talking about. Like you don't know.
I simply
literally completely.
I simply have no idea what Heretics is going to be like.
I also
the other two teams that I would think about putting up there are G2 and 100 Thieves, and I don't think that either of them are going to be the same quality as the other 10 teams that we have up there.
I'm a bit lost on G2, especially given that they've evidently decided to not continue with Pith, who I thought was probably
that's still up in the air. They tried a bunch of people, but it's not necessarily happening.
There's just nothing final there to go off of.
I put him in the same boat as Heretics. I don't know. Like, yeah, sure, Nuki is insane, and Avova is a great controller, and Coldamenta is a great IGL, but like this is new pieces in everywhere. It's a mix of Heretics, Ascend, and G2. So it's just like, what the fuck?
And also, I feel the least confident about the original G2 players on that team. I feel the least confident about Mixwell and Pith out of that entire roster. So
really?
Yes, absolutely I do.
I might be Pith's #1 fan. Honestly, I think he's
quite smart,
really good.
I don't think he has what it takes to be great moving forward. Let's try and zone in on the #3 spot, though. I feel like it, even though I made the argument that Duturn, I would power rank them lower than Liquid or V1. When you look at the results, they just get #3 spot by default, I feel.
Because the more you're looking at the rest of the teams, it's like, who
do you put at #3?
It feels disingenuous.
You could have theoretically put, like, because really, when you look at the results of the tournament, like, you could have, even if they lost, if you really wanted to power rank them above, it would have been version 1, right? Because, like, who knows what would have happened if version 1 and Liquid faced off again after they beat them the first time?
Yeah.
You know?
We have to put FPX simply to make people mauled.
Oh, God. No.
At #3.
No.
Yes.
I am okay with New Turn at 3rd, but it does feel like it's kind of by default. I would almost...
I'm not. So, look, the argument we made for Ascends in 3rd last time was that they won Masters 1 for Europe, but we couldn't put them higher because they just haven't proved it enough times. This is their first international outing. Yes, we rank it very highly, but it's still not necessarily proof that they're going to... They had an easy side of the bracket. They showed off some crazy shit that was like Korean. Oh, yeah, we're really hype about them. But in reality, does those results really prove that they're going to be able to stay here for the long run? Because to me, that was like a once-in-a-lifetime type of performance from some of those guys.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that too.
But the problem is that I wouldn't put... I don't know who I would put in the 3rd spot ahead of Newturn. Because I don't believe in Liquid as much.
I'm going to put something onto the table. I'm going to float an idea.
Okay, float.
What if we put version 1 there?
I said that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, you did? Okay, because version 1 had a hell of a performance without Whippy, who we all thought was an excellent player.
True.
Whippy's coming back. Well, they don't have Zellsis, but Whippy's coming back. But when Zellsis also comes back from his Riot hiatus, then version 1 will be at full strength. Maybe?
I feel
version 1.
Yeah, I feel okay about that. I feel like giving them credit for the fact that they went on that run with a stand-in is very, very fair.
And they beat Liquid, and I think I have more confidence in version 1 going forward than Liquid. Especially with their full strength roster.
Yeah, I think
I have more confidence in version 1 and at big tournaments. Too.
I also
I make the same argument I make for Newturn for version 1. Like Effie's life tournament perform like
it was the tournament.
Life tournament.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like I could see Effie's theoretically replicating that again. Because Effie's at least has shown in the past that he can be really good, you know?
I mean, that was like, I've never seen that shit from Effie's.
Effie's is a good player. For sure,
but I mean,
that
like,
was remarkable.
maybe this was Effie's emerging from his chrysalis, and he had shown signs of that before, like as a little pupae, and then there he is, he's a butterfly. And I think that
I don't believe in the
I think that
theory.
version 1 could replicate like this performance, especially if they get some of the original members, like, and once Zellsis returns from the gulag, like I think this is possible. I think version 1 because I definitely would not put Newturn above them, and I definitely would not put, even though they won, and I definitely wouldn't put Liquid above them. So like who else would go above this team right now? Like there's just no one else. Find me another other than FPX, other than like FPX, right? Like who are we gonna put in the spot?
Yeah, but Dapper took Nat's setups from Gambit. We have to put Gambit up there.
Yeah, that's right.
Gambit in third. Wait, I do want to put version 1 ahead of Liquid.
I hate this. What? Sorry?
I said I do want to put version 1 ahead of Liquid.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think that Liquid had a big like rush in that tournament, and I think they are going to start falling off. I think that they really need to work on some more fundamental stuff before they're going to be able to hit a peak like that and win a tournament in Europe again. I think that despite the fact that they have Scream and Yampy and those guys are like the firepower is looking good from those two, I think that the way the compositions that they choose, the way they play together is not consistent across the board. They hit on a few nice ideas that were good enough to push them ahead of the pack this time around. They hit on like a really cool idea for attacking Ascent side. And when that fell to piece in Masters, they just had nothing to go back on. Like as soon as the Phoenix stuff got countered, they were awful at Ascent. They lost it every single time because their composition wasn't well-rounded. Their game plan wasn't an all-round good plan. They just had a single thing that they were relying on. And I feel like that was also, in some sense, the same for their Haven too. And they had a couple of great ideas, but they're not an all-round, like, super well-rounded team. Which is why I'm kind of waffling here a bit, but that's why I would rate version 1 above them. I would even have more confidence in, like, for FPX overall. I feel like it's hard to rate FPX above them, perhaps, but
I
would be fairly happy with that, to be honest.
I kind of want to put C9 in 5th, 6th. I think C9 are going to be pounded.
Of FPX?
I think C9 are going to be
FPX?
Pounded. That's some bullshit right there.
No, I didn't say necessarily over. I said 5th, 6th.
I mean, I think FPX deserves still to be in the top.
I would rather put
to be above some of the teams that haven't yet to really make it out to anything major. You know,
maybe it's because I'm a scorned lover and I just want to hurt FPX. But I would almost, I want to put Gambit above them at this point. I do actually have a lot of faith in Gambit, but
they just got. I mean, I'm bringing up some one map Andy shit here, but they did just get crushed in their most recent games.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Gambit did sort of roll them,
but
no.
Sorry,
they played recently, right?
I'm saying Gambit lost. They got crushed in some CIS game recently that I saw.
Yeah, they
against
did.
the people they lost or they beat.
I don't know. Regional matchups are wacky.
Yeah,
well, the thing is,
Gambit were good, but they weren't 5th in the world good.
No,
they still have so much to prove.
Yeah, I agree.
So much.
They're definitely not 5th in the world.
And to me, Cloud9, shit ton of potential, but they haven't actually proved as much as FPX have domestically, right? So if if you're looking at FPX and Cloud9, they're actually in somewhat similar scenarios. They look like teams with a shit ton of promise. I like the way they play, high individual skill on both squads. They've done reasonably well domestically, but FPX have done way better domestically than Cloud9 have with their new roster. And it's been over a longer period of time. There's no good reason to rate Cloud9 above FPX.
Yeah,
and the same argument could perhaps be extended to Liquid and Ascend as well.
Yeah,
but there
Liquid
it becomes much stickier.
Liquid beat good teams though. Like they've beaten FPX and they've beaten Fnatic and like Liquid is at least proven it's hard, and they went to LAN and they like at least like had an okay, they didn't lose to any teams that they shouldn't have lost to, other than maybe like version 1, if you consider that a team they shouldn't have lost to, right?
Can I propose a different way of looking at this as well? Like now that we've kind of narrowed down a top 10 slightly, I mean, maybe we switch a couple more pieces out, but would FPX place 6th, 5th in a tournament with these teams right now? And I think hell yes.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Like I think that might be a way that we can kind of figure out and understand where we think that this should go, right? Because FPX, in my mind, should be making semifinals. Honestly, in a field like this.
Yeah, I think this would be an unbelievably stacked field, though. It's not. I mean, I could also imagine them losing in quarters to if they matched up against, like a Sentinels, or they match up against a Cloud9 that's on fire or whatever. Like, this is a crazy stacked field. To me, I think putting Liquid in 5th based off what they've actually recently achieved is reasonable, but that does not mean that I have any faith that they are the 5th best team right now. For Liquid, I don't have faith in the future, but I want to give credit to the past.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that's
I think it's hard to argue against Liquid in 5th simply because they've beaten all the other teams that we could like think about that are currently below them. Like they've beaten them recently. They've shown they can win against good teams, and like they haven't done anything. But it's true in that, like, yeah, sure, I don't think their foundation is as solid as FPX, but FPX lost a lot. So
I do also
they lost bigly.
I do also want to put version 1 above Newturn.
You
do?
Yeah. I think version 1 should go above Newturn. 100%.
I think Newturn have been slapping around a relatively weak region. The thing to me is you can't lose 0 maps in your qualifier in a competitive region. It doesn't happen. And Newturn then had a good performance when it came to LAN. They overplaced, though, based on that crazy win against version 1 and having a weak bracket that they were playing in. This is the exact same thing. This is the exact same argument, by the way, that we would have made for Liquid had they made it to the upper final and then just bombed out. Even if they had placed 3rd, the whole setup, the reason why our expectations were so high for Liquid was because that side of the bracket was easy. And, with the benefit of hindsight, we have version 1 Newturn and Liquid there rather than Vikings being in the top. So I guess that side of the bracket was not quite as weak as we first imagined because version 1 turned up, but still.
Yeah.
They only have one sizable win, and it was over V1 in double OT. So I think version 1 have proven more domestically, despite the fact that Newturn have been more dominant within their region, because version 1 have so much more competition.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable.
And they were playing with a sub. I think version 1 deserves their spot above Newturn despite losing to them. And I know that will be very controversial.
I am happy with this top 5. I think I'm
happy with it as well.
I'm not happy with Liquid, but I think you have to put them there.
You gotta. It is just a matter of giving them credit for what they've done. It's just the state of EU.
That's kind of where I'm falling as well. It's just I'm not happy with version 1 or Newturn, but results follow some actual praise. Because when I look at this, I see Newturn against FPX. In my mind, FPX beats that. Newturn against Cloud9, I think that'd be close. Like Newturn against Ascend, I think Ascend beats them. Newturn against Gambit, I think Gambit beats them. But they actually made it to Masters 2. That's kind of where I hate this entire exercise, is because it's like, oh, Masters 2, that's everything. But in my mind, FPX should beat them, Ascent should beat them, Gambit should beat them. Like,
I mean, we could just go
on. And it's not even, to me, it's not even close in my head for some reason.
Yeah, but I think that is incredibly reasonable, and in some way, the best teams from bad regions have more of an opportunity than a team like Gambit or FPX or whatever, because
you're right about that.
Because New Turn are almost guaranteed a spot in big tournaments and opportunities to prove themselves. Like it's the same thing for X10 or whatever as well. If anyone has X10 in their top 20, it's only by virtue of them being granted the opportunity to play at Berlin.
Yeah.
They didn't prove anything at Berlin. They just got there. If FPX was playing in Southeast Asia or whatever, then FPX would easily win that region. Then they'd easily get to Masters at Iceland. And then if they did anything, then they're automatically in the running. So the lower regions are always going to seep into the top 10 for...
Well, that brings up an interesting question then. Does Vikings deserve to be in top 10?
If they do, they're in 10th.
I'm not sure they deserve.
But what are the other teams below?
I mean, there's a lot.
This is where I would bring another NA team.
Yeah, like 100 Thieves, maybe.
Yeah.
But the thing is, to me, there is no next NA team. Maybe Envy.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. That's the problem. Cloud9 version 1 and Sentinels were clearly ahead of everyone else in the last we had seen from NA.
What were maybe if we go back in time a little bit to Challengers 1, who were the top North American teams?
100 Thieves had a good performance in
right?
They won the first
against Xset.
Yeah, they won the first stage.
No,
final.
sorry. I didn't mean Challengers 1. I meant Masters 1 is what I intended to say there.
It was then FaZe, Gen.G,
and then FaZe, Gen.G, etc. Yeah, it was that crazy run.
It was Envy. It was Envy. Yeah, they got fourth.
Yeah. I mean,
the next team up is behind.
Because that's the thing is, like, Team Vikings, they had a really rough performance and they looked really far behind the meta.
They did.
Too. And like they looked behind the meta and they looked rough and they looked at one-dimensional times, which is so juxtaposition to how they looked in Brazil. But
ultra passive. They played so much safer than they do within their own region. Which
they had to. I mean, the meta is literally you can't go for what Brazil was doing. You just can't. So they had to slow it down.
I mean,
they were just getting countered and battered in scrims, so they lost all their confidence. They
just had no confidence. I mean, on some of the maps, they quite literally did not push a single extremity on defense once on some of the maps. I mean,
I don't think that they deserve their spot in the top 10. But I don't know who you give it to instead.
That's the problem. Yeah. I mean,
if I was going to make it based off stability, it would be 100 Thieves.
But they just haven't done shit.
They won the stage 2 Challenger 1 against Xset in the finals, which was like the seeding final. And before that, they beat Envy, who ran the Foods guy, which I guess they then did later, but that was also a seeding game. And then...
But we don't know where Envy... Like, I
forget who else they beat in that.
Like, if you look at Envy and FaZe from NA as well, like, they didn't have, like, very stellar performances towards the end. And on top of that, Envy and potentially FaZe are changing the rosters.
Yeah. It seems like...
Dude, I was just so disappointed in the whole Astra, like, why they couldn't, like, implement Astra conversation.
I know. But the thing is, neither could Vikings, right? So if you were to put 100 Thieves and Vikings together, neither of them were playing Astra.
The reason I actually think that the fact that Vikings didn't adapt to the meta at Iceland is not necessarily a negative for them is that they had, like, the entire region wasn't adapting. So it kind of makes sense that one team doesn't want to do it. Whereas in an A, 100 Thieves was playing in a region that had adapted. Everybody was playing Astra Viper, like every single team. So why wouldn't you just go with the flow instead of trying to, force your way through? Whereas Vikings is like, oh shit, like if we do this and it doesn't work, we're boomed. We have to peak with the rest of the region on that old meta. So going to Iceland, they didn't have enough time. Now, if they go back and go to the drawing board, they have enough time now. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think that the region themselves kind of screwed them and not the other way around. Them screwing themselves.
I agree to an extent. Like they still have the only other thing that I was fairly disappointed in was that I felt they just didn't really show up. The individual didn't show up much for Vikings. I think the talent is definitely there. Like I think Sadhawk and Saucy had some good moments, and Sutsakas as well, but
nowhere near as good as I thought they would be, though.
Yeah, they weren't.
They weren't.
They didn't have the. They just didn't. They did not have any confidence. No. Is really what it came down to. They did not play with any confidence.
They got battered in scrims. They were saying.
What's right? X10 pushed them to the brink. Like I'm already. No offense to X10, but X10 pushed Vikings to the brink.
Yeah,
yeah.
And they weren't even like, I don't know.
What about Xset?
No. I don't think so.
Wait, who is it? No,
With Death.
So we'd sleeping on Ambox?
We might be. No, honestly, we might be sleeping on Ambox. I think Ambox are going to be pretty nasty.
They could be really.
I actually think they're going to be a really solid team in this next stage, but
there's nothing to back it up currently, and it's going to be a new roster, right?
I feel like
there's nothing for any team to back up the 10th
on a
spot.
Fucking new roster.
I think this 10th spot might be a gamble.
Yeah, I think we have to throw G2 there, or
a gamble on G2
or something.
Because there is no team that's proven enough to take the 10th spot in the world based off actual results. I mean, if it was based off results or like the strength that they've shown recently, I think if it was based throwing like Guild in there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you're going off results, it would be Guild or 100 Thieves, because those are the two other teams who did well in the last.
Or like Oxygen.
In the last. Okay.
You know what I mean? We're getting to crazy
gaming. CIS on top.
One Breath Gaming. They beat Gambit. Time to go in.
Yeah.
What about Vision Strikers?
No. Nope. Definitely not.
What about Damn One Gaming?
No. Damn One.
See, if Vision Strikers new players can catapult them upwards, then yeah, at that point. But I don't know where to think of them. I mean, they have changed two fundamental roles on their team where I don't know whether.
What if we roll the
like
dice?
G2 or Heretics or something.
Who do we have?
Here's how we pick the top 10. How to trigger the most people. Let's go.
Okay, no. Here's where I'm at with this.
Phase.
But Plat Chat, we just fucking got third.
No, that's true. We did kind of pop off.
True,
we did kind of pop off. I think that the 10th spot is. I think it's reasonable to probably put whoever we feel is better of Heretics and G2 based on the just speculation. I don't see what other team.
I want to leave it blank.
You want to leave it blank?
I do. I want to leave it blank because I feel like any team that we put in there, we don't have a solid enough argument for, and there's no real reason why we should do a top 10. There's no good reason why we should shove some random team into 10th. When there's
an
no
arbitrary number.
Yeah, it's just an arbitrary number.
It's just the power ranking number.
Yeah,
we don't need to follow it.
Just make it top 9.
We need to get a PNG of like a bingo free space and put that in there. And then we'll be good.
Yeah, or I mean, you can just leave it open for people in the comments to think who they would put in that slot. Because I really think that this spot is up for grabs for anyone domestically. And I feel relatively good about the other 9 teams that we have up there. Like, for some of them, like Gambit, it's about the potential and the like peaks of what they've shown, but they still have to prove it massively. For other teams like Ascend, it's based on some of what they have shown, but it's also a bit of a new roster. For other teams like FPX, it's because they're excellent, but have flopped in big moments, so you can't put them any higher than 6th. But for every team up there, there's a good reason why they're in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with that because throwing in some random team that we don't know doesn't really help us at all. Like, because realistically, I cannot think of a team to take 10. Like, the only team that is coming to mind for me still is 100 Thieves, but that's still like just kind of based off the fact that like they've done okay and they have a stable roster, and not actually the fact I believe they're the 10th best team.
Yeah.
So
I think there's so much opportunity though for other teams to come and take these spots. People like G2, Heretics, people like Envy, 100 Thieves, Anbox, Exet, like any of these teams domestically could make a big splash in the qualification stages towards Berlin, to the point where you start ranking them up with these teams easily. It's just that they haven't shown it yet. But there are a ton of teams like with that potential to be able to move up into those levels. Do we feel all right with this? Are there any major gripes still? We kind of breezed over 7th through 9th, but I feel like it's pretty good.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I think V1 at 3rd is very, very with everything that's going on around that team, it's very, very optimistic.
Yeah.
But fuck it. We do it live.
Balla, who would you put in 3rd if it was just up to you? Is that where FPX would go?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be
no.
That's
no.
It is so tempting.
Yes.
I do love that team. But they just
I know.
They lead the pack all the way up until they fail. Yeah.
Yeah. God. Yeah, I mean,
you can't, I don't know. I understand people that want to rate them and want to give up on them like you. I'm towards Balla. It's just that I try to hold my simping down.
I do feel like it's probably a matter of time with them, but
it just is. It's only a matter of time until they get a top 3
But it's
spot.
been a matter of time for so long. It's been a matter of time for so long.
What's happening?
What are you guys doing? What are you doing?
Kurt's swapping around FPX and Liquid. He's slowly rising FPX upwards.
The momentum. Yes,
No.
I mean, version 1 are probably not going to have a great first qualifier, but once the roster is back together, I'll have faith again. But
it's annoying doing power rankings where you have to balance results with pure speculation about how teams are going to do. Because if there was let's say if this was an 8-team bracket with one of the teams disappeared or whatever,
yep,
I would not expect version 1 and Newton to make semis like with consistency. Those teams are there because they did prove something, not because I would expect them to again.
Yeah.
You know, the expectations are much higher for 6th through 9th than they are for 3rd through 5th. But 3rd through 5th are there on basis of what they have actually achieved.
That's why I was kind of frustrated when it's not like anything we did. I just like this situation is hard to do anything real. Actually, we might be in that situation like the entire length of Valorant. Just because of VCT and how it's structured.
Probably.
We might not have any other like global tournaments that are not VCT based.
Just so you guys wait
it's extremely possible.
Dude, I
fucking hope we do.
Cloud9 and Anbox are about to come out swinging.
I could
rise up the ranks.
I could definitely see it.
Love the Anbox roster right now.
I want to pivot into some of the NA roster changes. This is our top 9 Plat Chat World Power Rankings coming out of Iceland. Some speculation for the future, some results based as well. Make of that what you will, and comment below in the comment section. Well, first of all, what you would change from ours, because I know that there's going to be people just molding about all sorts of different shit. And
FPX is going to end up on like 3rd, and a bunch of people. I guarantee it. I guarantee FPX is going to end up on 3rd for so many people.
Yeah, I think we held our simping down a lot for FPX, and people are still going to think we're overrating them. But anyway, if you have someone you think is a clear shot for 10th. Post them in the comments as well if you think we overlooked someone or someone has a stronger argument that we're giving them credit for. NA roster changes, though. Let's start with Anbox, because we were talking about them as well. Mm-hmm. They signed JC Stani. How good do you think this team is going to be?
I have a lot of faith in Anbox actually going forward. Not to the extent that I don't foresee them necessarily like winning out in NA or being like a dominant team up there with Sen, that kind of thing. No, but I think they're entering the space where I feel they could definitely be a consistent like top 5, top 6 team and be in close contention with pretty much all the teams above them. Because I think they have a pretty unique approach to the game. I think they added a lot of firepower with Stani.
I have a lot of faith in him individually. Yeah. He's just been mega consistent and a rock for Immortals whenever he was playing with them.
Yeah.
Very smart player.
I agree. I think that was a great addition. And I also think that Stani had a lot of options in his free agency.
Yeah.
And I think that it's telling that he decided to go to Anbox, who would probably be, on paper, they're not necessarily a team that jumps out as like, they have a massive brand and they're going to, you know what I mean? Like they're not going to be doing a lot to push him as an individual. They don't really have that pull like the other larger orgs in the scene. But the fact that he went there, I think, is telling as to what they're doing behind the scenes that would incentivize someone like him to be there. Also, that I think the roster was working. And I think as of, when we last saw the Motto was looking nasty on Duelist.
Yeah.
Ye was looking mega consistent on Sage. Mm-hmm. I think their roster is really good. I think Stani adds like a third piece of sick firepower to go alongside those two. And they have a unique approach to the game. They put in the effort to approach the maps with their own unique comps and also with unique setups with those comps too. I mean, through the qualifier run, we saw plenty of rounds where they just had a unique little utility play that I've never seen any other team do. They just thought of it themselves, and it would win a round. And if they're the type of team that's doing that consistently and putting in the effort, I have a lot of faith. And their supporting players are great too. Like Vice had a great tournament. I am definitely excited for the Anbox roster moving forward.
I think this piece is a perfect piece for them to be slightly better where they need to be, because honestly, they were bringing Sentinels to the brink every time they played them. They beat them in Challengers too, right? And then they lost to them in the lower bracket or something like that when Sentinels made the run back up. But Boy is the guy who's getting replaced on this team. Am I not?
Yes.
Yeah, the controller. He used to play Omen and Asher for them.
Yeah.
So JC Stanley coming in to fill that role, I'm kind of disappointed that he might. I mean, he still might play Silva in some places, but he was also a really good controller. And also played Jett, but I don't think that, we're going to swap, was it Vice or Ye off of...
It would be Ye. Yeah.
Ye.
They're not going to swap Ye.
I think that this is perfect. I honestly think that they are a contender for top 4 in NA now, and I think that they're one of the teams that can really strike at Sentinels.
JC Stanley also had a tweet where he was... he power ranked the other North American teams and their expectations. I don't know whether you can find that on JC Stanley's Twitter account, but he didn't list himself, obviously. He didn't list Anbox, but then he went through all the others. And I thought this would be a fun tool for going through, some of the other North American teams that were going on as well. Obviously, he had Sentinels up there as like best in North America. And then his other tier 1 teams, a lot of the people, like as you work down the list, a ton of them have made recent roster moves and shuffles all over the place. Are you all scrambling to try and find the tweet?
I'm looking through it right now.
It wasn't a tweet?
Media, and I haven't seen...
I just posted in the Valorant channel.
Apologies. It was probably a screenshot from his
stream.
From his stream or something. Yeah, my bad. So here's the teams that he had in tier 1. Now, if you just take a look at tier 1 as well, Envy themselves have had some roster changes, right? So Envy, or rather reported roster changes, I believe. Again, because we're kind of flying through some of these roster changes, I want to try and give credit to the people that have reported these too. So if Balla or Avast could do some research for us and find out where the origin of some of these. Is it always George Geddes from Upcomer?
Always George Geddes. He's so good. He finds everything. He's like a dog, sniffs every fucking little roster change out, and he knows. And it's always actually, I haven't seen him be wrong.
No, I haven't seen him be inaccurate once. No. But Envy have also recently been spotted trialing Marved as well. What do you guys think of that roster? If it was minus Caboose plus Marved.
I am going to be honest. I don't really know. It's tough because I guess bringing in Marv, does this make this roster work better at all? Right? Because the thing is that like Caboose could play certain agents and the controller, while Marv has traditionally been on the controller for a while now. But like what does this do for the rest of the roster, right? Like, how does that change some of the other agent pool for Envy?
I mean, the main thing it fixes is that they would have a dedicated controller, and Mummy would be presumably playing more Jett, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like the obvious thing that they're going for. I mean, this isn't also not even a confirmed move. So it's very reasonable, though, that I think that's something they'd want to try while they're looking for a free agent, is returning Mummy to probably playing a lot of Jett and, ironing out the roles. Because that has been an awkward spot ever since that roster came together. Since day one, that was something we were talking about, that there was role overlap with Caboose and Food, and or Victor now, sorry. And it's... that's an awkward situation that they've been trying to rectify with an immense amount of role swaps for the last however many months. Like 8 months now. And
they had Mummy AWPing on Astra and AWPing on Omen and all sorts of stuff like that.
And also, Mummy was still, his AWPing is still nasty.
It is, yeah.
I mean, his actual just raw AWP aim, the last we saw it, was fucking crazy.
And I think a lot of the North American teams are just sticking to Jett. The meta has been... I mean, Jett was the most picked agent of Masters 2. If you're not running a Jett, you're missing out on a lot that you can do with the AWP, but also just dodging a shit ton of utility, playing in angles and catching people off guard, being able to... there's just so many... The Jett knives as well. There's so much stuff that agent could do that aren't available to other people, that I think Envy are probably going to want to lean heavily into that.
Go out on a limb and say they're not going to pick up Marved. I just don't think that's a good fit. I think they're friends or something. I know that FNS is getting close with Marved and whatnot, but I just don't think that's a good fit. I think that'll make them way more, I don't know if the word is chaotic, but just unfocused. Where Marved fit well with the other guys in FaZe. I'll go out on them and say I don't think that's going to happen.
I think the FaZe guys would probably be better on any team apart from each other. Do you know what I mean? I think that FaZe together... it was interesting when they got it working for one tournament, but that was a flash in the pan that I don't think they're going to be able to replicate. And I think that the players are skilled, but they're in this environment where they just cannot get structure themselves. But if you took any of those players out and put them into another team that had pre-existing structure, I would believe in those FaZe players. You put Baby Bay into another team, fuck yeah, he's going to pop. If he's your wild component in another team that has a lot of structure in it, hell yeah. I think the same for Marved as well, potentially. I think a lot of his playmaking tendencies can be controlled a bit more in a team that has more structure. I think I think you might see better stuff from Marv than we've seen since he first came into the scene and had crazy potential at the beginning. I think this could be very good for him. I don't even know about Envy overall, but for Marv himself, I
agree with that. Yeah. I one more thing too is that I think that teams who are making changes based on things like Wyatt you're talking about, like role swaps and whatnot, are making a mistake because of how likely we are to see a drastic meta shift with episode 3. There is no shot that we're still going to have a really significant post plan. I'm guessing there's going to be Jett nerfs too. I just think it's crazy to do that rather than picking up somebody who's just optimally fitting good in the team and is just really, really good. Yes, you should be thinking about the roles, but specifically picking to get somebody who fits a certain agent that you want to play, I think is crazy.
An interesting point. This, of course, all assumes as well that the ESIC report does not implicate Marv in any match fixing, which has been something hanging over his head. There's speculation about it for a long time. So
yeah, but the timeline seems like it's... I mean, what was the last timeline? It was supposed to be when we last talked about ESIC, it was supposed to be 2 weeks, and now it's been a month and a half.
No, it's been way more. It's been 2 months.
Way more than that.
Yeah.
So at this point, I don't even know when. You can't even. I don't even know.
These guys are going to be retired before they get banned.
Yeah.
Seriously, they are. It just creates so much uncertainty around the scene as well in terms of which people are even applicable free agents. But it seems like Envy are willing to give Marv a shot. It's all incredibly blurry right now. It's a horrible situation to be in, both as a a player that's got the focus on you, and also an organization looking to pick up free agents. And I'm sure it's not comfortable for ESIC either, having to delay their report for month upon month upon month. The original expectation was October. I mean, that's just insanity, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, let's shift focus a little bit. Going from NV, who were the other teams that you had in Tier 1? He had version 1, but we'll get onto the Zellsis stuff later. Who was the other team you had in Tier 1?
100 Thieves and Cloud9.
Oh, Cloud9. Let's talk about Cloud9 then as well, because it's been rumored for a while that Zeppa was brought in to kind of sit on the bench and eventually get moved up to the main roster. But Avast, you got the juice from a recent Cloud9 podcast.
Well, I mean, also, yeah, and then George gets also confirmed it. But DDK was doing a the C9 show. They call it like the Nines. They had a bunch of C9 people like Mel and Zeppa, and they were just like, this. Zeppa was like, yeah, I am stepping in over Poise.
I like the idea of Avast getting the juice from the C9 podcast. He just has his ear to the pods. He was listening closely.
What can I say? You know me. I check my Spotify list, see what's updated. I head on in. I'm
new
a
episode
big
of the
pod
Nines
guy.
Yeah.
Nines?
Isn't that what it's? I don't know.
Yeah, it's called the Nines.
Yeah,
the Nines. Yeah,
Avast had to tune in. He got us. He got the juice for us. Zeppa stepping
I'm
in.
huge into podcasting. Perhaps if you've heard of podcasting, I'm a podcaster. I went to Austin for a week.
It's actually horrific. Our storyline of our lives. Just
what do you mean?
No, we're just so typical.
What do you mean?
Just living.
White guys living in Austin making podcasts.
Yeah, we're living in California. Oh man, we got to relocate during the pandemic. Let's go to Austin so we can record our podcast. It's just so corny.
It is very corny.
It's a tragedy. And then also, oh shit, I need more money. I guess I got to be a live streamer. It's just awful. But I do like. Listen, I like this Cloud9 roster, and I think they have a lot of potential. And a lot of people are investing in the Zeppa Valorant stocks, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Because he does a young player, a lot of potential, was upcoming in CS. He was sick there, so a lot of expectations coming in here. I will say, though, disappointed that Poise got about 20 minutes to play with them, played very well, and now he's fucking gone. They should have started him a long time ago on that roster. They didn't. They brought him in very late. He played really well while he was there, and now he's gone. But great free agent with a lot of potential on the market. I think that he should find another team because I thought he was an excellent player for them. I also think that the errors he was making were they couldn't be more obvious. So I think they're very easy to fix.
Yeah, and it was also experience errors. I think.
I absolutely agree. So honestly, I am disappointed that he was there for such a short period of time and now he's already gone. Because he was an entertaining player to watch, and he was very good. But he will probably be on another team, and I still think Cloud9 are going to be sick. So,
Cloud9 contract? Will he be on another team?
Yeah. Well,
well, I mean, if they can work it out with Tins, they can work it out with Boys, right? So.
Yeah, he'll be leased like a Fiat 500, left, right, and center. The Ford Fiesta treatment, as Avast said. Yeah, that team, I'm very excited to watch Zeppa play, honestly. We haven't seen him play yet within Valorant, so I'm excited. If he's good enough to be able to bench Poise, he's got to be great. And that, I mean, Poise was playing really well. A lot of people are going to point to his inconsistencies and lack of experience, but when he was playing well, he was playing really fucking well. So if Zeppa's better than that and the team is playing better than they did during their qualification run for Iceland, this is going to be a nasty good team. Dropping down a tier then, we have Gen.G. So Gen.G is another squad which has been slowly making changes over time off the back of their coach who came in and made a huge improvement for them. But their most recent changes that they ended up dropping Hwin. Did they announce a replacement? I can't remember. Has anything been reported about that?
Nature.
Oh, no, Nature. That's right. Nature. Wasn't Nature, but wasn't Nature signed before this or was he signed after?
They benched Twin, then Nature got signed, and then they released Twin.
That's what happened. So they had signed Nature before this, and then they officially released Twin. So yes, it is Nature.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
But so really all that's really changed is that Hwin is just officially a free agent.
Yeah. How good do you think this team is going to be? They placed third in Masters 1 for North America. Then we had high expectations of them coming into the qualification run. They didn't really live up to those. I do really enjoy how Nature was playing on Immortals. He looked like a good talent. Was able to IGL as well, so I don't know whether that's going to take some weight off GMD's shoulders. It seems like a move that makes a lot of sense to me. I guess Nature is going to be playing Duelist with Sean.
Well, that's the thing.
And GMD goes Smokes.
Well, I am a fan of this roster move. I think it was a good decision. I think it opens up a lot of possibilities for the team. They have players who can play a number of roles. Sean has the availability to go back to the Sober Breach if he intends on doing so. GMD can play the Duelist. He can play the Breach as well. He can play Controller. Nature can play Duelist. He can play the Sentinel. Kusta was experimenting a bit with other roles, and though perhaps the Sova switch with him didn't work immediately, also still relatively new to the game, and he could certainly still adapt to more roles as time goes on. I think that they have a lot of availability in that respect, which makes them a bit more, meta-proof. Like, I think that they have the ability to adapt. I also think that it'll be nice, possibly, for GMD to have to, not necessarily be the in-game leader. I know that MC, as the coach as well, likes to be very experimental in how they approach the game. He likes to try a lot of different comps. So I think this is a good move. I think it opens up potentially Sean to go back to the Sova, which would be great. GMD to try dual scan, which would be great.
I don't see how it opens that up, though. Because if Sean goes to Sova, it puts Mikhail in a really uncomfy scenario. Like, what does he end up playing?
Controller, which he has done.
KO.
Yeah.
KO. Yeah.
Or he plays KO.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about things in too much of a structured meta way as well. When a lot of the compositions that we're seeing recently have been with like not double controller. I fucking hate that terminology, but like Viper and a different smoker as well. Like maybe they're just going to play that kind of stuff where it frees up the roles and makes them a bit more free flowing on the team. I think this is going to be more of the same for Gen.G though. I don't think this drastically changes things.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I will hold the opposite opinion.
Yeah, I think that this is
probably going to be I think
you think this is going to be the
change.
thing that tips it for Gen.G to be able to be consistently tier 1?
I don't know if it's going to be the thing that makes them well, I definitely think that this is a step in the right direction. I think that this is a good move.
I think this is a good move. I just don't think it moves the needle that much. I think it's a good move, but it's a small move. And I think Gen.G are good at making small iterative changes to get better as a team, but they're still pretty far away from like cracking into being an elite team in North America.
I think that you are overvaluing the stage 2 results by a long shot.
Where they underperformed a bit?
Yeah, they underperformed, but they didn't play. They didn't catch up to the meta. They didn't do anything like that. And I feel like once they do, it's just like they're back in a top 4 situation.
Also, man, I don't know. Just thinking about if you do want to think about like just some of the potential options, like on some of the maps, depending on what they run. Like, if GMD is still, GMD is obviously still insane. He was really good on them.
He's good.
If they have him back on Duelist, they have Nature on Duelist, who he was a freak when he was playing Duelist. We just never saw while he was on Immortals because he was IG. He kind of, and from what Stani had said, I remember he kind of just opted into like, yeah, sure, I'll be the in-game leader. I think he just was okay with taking over for Stani and doing that.
Yeah.
And then also, playing a different role, like a potential Duelists of GMD and Nature sounds pretty nasty. If they want Sean to play the initiator, play the Sova, that like, I don't know. I think that this is a good move. I think this roster should be pretty sick.
Okay.
Honestly, I think a lot of the NA teams are just making good moves right now. I think they're making the right decisions.
Yeah, I don't know if this fixes Gen.G still, but like, arguably, it's tough to argue with, considering that Hwin had been inconsistent for a while. I think like he'd show up occasionally, like have a really good series, or a map, and then kind of like stop, and then just like not be invisible, but rather be far less impactful after that. I felt like Gen.G also built the way they played very heavily around like win, and it did not like they were still very much dependent on like, okay, we're getting our Jett in, but in very traditional ways. And we weren't really mixing it up in terms of how we were changing up our agent composition or how we approach maps. They were just like, it felt like they were still playing the game from like months behind at points. I think nature adds a lot to this team. I don't know if it fixes everything, but I think Gen.G is going to be better for sure.
Okay, let's try and rattle through some more of these a little bit. So we also had Immortals signing Jonah P. I like that guy. I don't know what the hell the rest of the roster looks like, though, for Immortals.
Yeah.
Do we even know what that roster looks like?
I don't.
I have no clue.
Not a clue.
Zero
but
clue.
I did enjoy watching Jonah P when he was playing on Complexity. Is this the full roster here?
Yeah,
Are they just keeping these guys?
Unless they're making more changes. I don't think they're...
Yeah, unless they're making... I guess they haven't made any more changes, so...
I assumed they were making more changes. I guess if they're keeping the same roster like this, yeah.
Sure.
Kind of cool. I mean, except what does Jonah P and Gangster play?
Yeah. I mean... There was a period in time where he was looking really good on Complexity, but Complexity kind of just fell off the map in 2021. So you weren't really witnessing him against top competition.
No, but he looked like he had potential.
He looked like a good player. So
I don't know what this team is going to do, but they've got some good pieces. Like I like all of these players. I just don't know how they're going to fit the roles together and what they're going to do. Like it's just a farm team.
Yeah, sure. I like these players, but this team is just... It's just pieces. They're not together.
That's what it always is. Yeah.
They keep having turnover and keep having turnover and keep having turnover. And like I said in previous episodes, like, what does that do to the mentals of the players in the team? What does that do to Shot Up? Is he going to continue to be able to maintain this with different teammates behind him every time trying to set him up? I don't think so. And I think it's a bad strategy. That,
unfortunately, though, is the way of the Immortals Gaming Club.
Yeah.
What else we have? NRG. There's some interesting stuff going on with NRG and XSET as well. I want to start with XSET actually though, because with Weeded being out of the picture, we all kind of assumed that JC Stanley was going to be able to fill that role or going to want to fill that role, and instead they've gone with Def. Who or what was that in the background?
The dog was barking at something. I'm not sure what, but.
Your dog's just eating a gallon of Nutella and is puking up everywhere, I think.
No, maybe I don't think that's it. She probably saw like another dog outside or something like that. And she's just like freaking out.
Yeah, I think the XSET change is really interesting though. Adding Def to XSET is I love watching Def. He's a talented player and IGL, and it's so unfortunate that his team just sank.
I agree. I think this is a great
roster reveal. Is silly.
What a
reveal!
This
is a silly roster reveal.
This is another good move. I think this is the best decision for XSET.
Really?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It's just upmind as the commentator.
I think that XSET needed a more experienced IGL with perhaps a bit more previous CSGO / TAC FPS experience to round out their actual gameplay, because individually they're good, individually they're creative, as a team they're creative, but what they needed help with was formulating their attack sides, and I think they need an experience.
The point that I would like to make, but I feel like you should be making the point where but Def plays Cypher and Twyfo's on the team. It's like, what are they gonna do
that
with
doesn't
their
really
roles?
matter.
I think Def has played a little bit of Omen and shit before as well, hasn't he? Also, I like the idea of getting Def the fuck off Sentinel, to be honest, because Def felt like he couldn't have as much impact from that role, I feel. Like, he felt, I don't know, whenever I was watching him, it felt like he was very limited when he was playing that. Like, he couldn't have a proper hand in what the team was doing.
In the last things that he was playing Omen, so I haven't watched him that recently. Apparently he switched to Omen at some point, which is good.
I think it's a good fit for the team.
Yeah.
Xset already had
I
pieces.
love the point that Wyatt's making though about def and being able to actually change something, because BCJ was like, yeah, we're gonna change something, and it was like, it's the same stuff. Like, we're just fucking 5-manning certain places. So it's really good that they have somebody who really knows the CS way to call.
This actually could level up Xset. They already have the pieces, they already have the players, and they already have the ability to be creative and, especially on the defense side, have a lot of unique, interesting setups. They're good with the utility of the game. They have good minds for the game. They don't have... Def brings the final piece, I think, of what they actually need. I think that this might be the change for Xset. This might take them over the top, because really all that was remaining for them was their attack halves just sucked. They were really bad. That was what was always needed to take them over the top, where they could actually, okay, this might be a legit top contender for like qualifying for the next LAN tier. Like they could be in the top 3, because NA has 3 slots, right? I think to qualify. Like this is a reasonable, they could be in the top 3 and make LAN team, I think.
Sure. Avast, did you want to say something there?
I was just contemplating on the fact that I've yet to see a roster move where I've been like, that's kind of bad or like not weird yet. Like the only one that I've been like, I'm on the fence about has been the Marved one. And then everything else I've been like, pretty good. So NA looking kind of stacked.
Okay, what about NRG? They have not solidified who their 5th is going to be, but they recently lost Daps, who was their IGL mechanical master, etc., who stepped down and is retiring from professional play. I don't know whether that means he's looking for some coaching slot or whatever, but he's not going to be a pro player anymore, apparently. So I don't know whether that was planned for NRG. They don't seem to have a replacement immediately lined up or anything. There've been reports about them trialing Jammies and some other people as well. Who are the other people that were like leaked?
I haven't.
I mean, Jammies has been trying out for every team. It seems
sorry, it was Jammies was trialing for
boost.
FaZe or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was some leaked screenshots.
Yeah, sorry, I think I was mixing that up there. I don't think that Jammies has been trialing for NRG, although I don't know. Here we go. George Geddes again. Former Dignitas player Rara has trialed for the squad. Dude, Rara is a very good player.
He's absurd.
Extremely good.
Nasty.
But also, we haven't really seen him play anything other than Reyna, have we? Like,
also, dude,
have we seen him play any role that actually requires like utility usage and team play rather than just rifling and getting into crazy positions?
To? Like, fuck.
I don't know. I don't know.
But is that what NRG needs? Do they really need just another guy to go kill? I mean, that
dude, their squad is Tex, Android,
I know.
Rara. If they had that shit, bro, I would rank them. I don't care.
And
like,
Som and EU. I mean, maybe, but they might.
Who takes over calling? That's my big question.
Yeah.
Do they have a better understanding of the game?
Probably EU.
No need to call when you shoot real good.
I mean,
EU did shot call for the T1 Academy team and stuff,
and for
right?
T1 when he was with them briefly. Yeah. So I presumably it would be EU. Sure. I don't know. I feel this roster should be fucking crazy. There will forever be high expectations, I think, for this roster, because it's just on paper, it's absurd. We've seen every player on this roster have just Vanguard needs to investigate their PC moments. It's just a ridiculous team, but I'm just waiting for the big moment. I'm waiting on the big result.
It feels like
also, they should be molded
over
because of Josh RT, right? Like everyone said, Josh RT should be such a hidden gem of a coach.
He was working with them for a while,
and like
was reported.
Maybe he just hasn't had the piece of marble he needs to sculpt his David.
Yeah. Or maybe there've been some like conflicts with Daps and stuff as well. Those kind of things could also hasten moves like this. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. The other one would obviously be like FaZe potentially looking for a 5th after Marv thinking of moving over to other teams. Who the hell knows what's going on there? Everybody in the world trialing for them too, including some leaked screenshots of Jammies. And Jammies definitely proved himself. So, but nothing concrete to go on there either. The final team that I wanted to get to, we want to analyze, some might say examine, the state of the pros on T1.
Okay.
How would we phrase that properly? How would we phrase that? Like a T1 pro state exam. Like a pro state exam.
Right.
And so we got the gloves.
Yep.
These are extremely professional medical gloves. And Wyatt, I'd love you to put those on and give us a little.
You don those?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you want me to give T1
Make sure to snap them back.
I want you to give T1 the pro state exam.
We'll see if I can get this.
Yeah, you generally don't need 2 gloves for this because that would require your double
Probably
finger,
not, but just in case. Just in case.
You're dual wielded, but that's fine.
Can't get that glove on. So we only need one.
Okay, so it's a left-handed approach here.
Yes.
T1 had we did not talk about it on the show that much, but they had drama aplenty recently. It feels like the Pulitzer Prize was long delayed, but fraud is kind of trickling it out over a long period of time. And then there was all of this shit that I think he was talking about on a podcast or something of internal harassment within the team and Spider feeling very uncomfortable, threatening to, or not threatening, that makes it sound too one-sided or aggressive for Spider, but Spider was just saying that he wanted to quit multiple times, but they persuaded him to stick with the team. Apparently worked out their differences, but then also Dazed has now left. What the fuck is going on over there?
Doctor?
Whoa, what's going on over there?
Dr. Valorant, what's going on in T1? What do they need to do? Please analyze the state of my pros.
Well, I think the first issue, the main issue that it has always seemed to be the case with T1 is that who's steering the ship here? Who is the one driving T1? Who is the one with the vision? What is the vision really? That has been a question I think about T1 for almost since the beginning of their existence.
Yeah,
I mean, I just like who was the one who brought the bringing in Spider was. It's not that Spider's bad, but like that was a strange move in itself. And then it's like this odd mix of bringing in the old guard from iBuyPower, but then also Spider somehow fit into that. But then they trialed EU for a little bit, but they didn't go with him. It's just been an odd. It's been an odd roster in regards to their decision making. Obviously, all the issues behind the scenes. It just doesn't seem like T1 has ever had a good leader behind them, keeping everything in line. They have a vision that they're going to execute. Yeah, it's felt very messy for this entire year.
It seems like
you could say.
What? Sorry,
schizophrenic. Like they're just going on 2 different.
Yeah, very much all over the place. I think. It seems like Frod was never really given the keys to the car, wasn't allowed behind the steering wheel, and it was Wawa driving the kind of Spider coming in and the personnel and stuff. I don't know whether Dazed always had his hand on the steering wheel either, because there seems like there was some serious conflict between Dazed and Frod in terms of what was going on.
Frod was driving with one hand, and Dazed is sitting in the passenger seat with his one hand as well.
Yeah.
And then Wawa is the self-driving guy who's like inputting the fucking GPS to different places.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And I think it seems to me from all the stuff that's been going on that David Denis came in as a bit of a holistic approach to solving these problems. It makes a lot more sense when you realize that there were some horrific personality problems between individuals and an inability to communicate and hash things out properly, that he would be a really good person to bring in and try and solve those disputes in the coaching position. Yeah. Like he seems like he has the skills that T1 needed at that point in time. And you can understand how those situations might have been resolved much more effectively under his leadership. Nevertheless, Daze has left, and now T1 are again. I mean, is David Denis going to be the guy at the helm?
Yeah, David Denis.
David Denis comes into play.
David Denis might have been a great solution for the T1's problems then. Is he a really good driver for the future? That might need somebody else, some different person at the helm, some other IGL or some other strategic coach or whatever. What do you think, Doctor?
Well, according to this article, I mean, obviously, so they're going to be removing Dazed, and then They might, yeah. So they may also remove Spider or just an anonymous second player from the team.
I think Spider was thinking of leaving, but didn't.
Will remain on the roster in the report.
It just says at the top they're thinking about removing 1 or 2 players. No?
Yeah, because originally they were thinking Spider was going to leave, I think, of his own volition, and he decided to stay with them.
Anyhow, so that leaves them without an IGL. They have Spider, Curry, Skadoodle, and Automatic, which is just a strange group of individuals to have on a team. Which is not necessarily anything wrong with that, but they seem it just seems so disjointed. It just feels very thrown together. I don't know what in-game leader will be bringing this together, but I suppose that's the question. Is that what they need, an IGL, or do they need to change more at this point? Because I think we're existing in this odd space where they had Skadoodle. Skadoodle has been this support player for the team, yet every time he plays an aggressive role, he's always sick. He was really good. His Jett was nasty. He was great on Raze, but he feels determined to be a support player.
Yeah.
And then you have Automatic, who's still trying to kind of find his footing in the game. And then Spider, who's just one of the most unique players, I think, to watch. Just his approach to the game is one of a kind. Like, if you show me a POV and got rid of the name of Spider, you would recognize that it is Spider quite quickly. Yeah. He's an interesting player, and he's good. And then they also have Curry, who's probably been the high point of the team as of late. I think that his play...
Really? You think?
Yeah. I think...
Yeah, he's looked pretty good. Yeah, he's looked pretty good.
I think he's been the high point of the team recently. His Sentinel play was really good. His Viper on Icebox was good. I think he's been...
I can't help but think, man, he just sits in the spawn every bloody round on attack.
Yeah, I mean, it is silly on attack.
Little pace that it's just... I don't know.
But is that what they need? A fiery leader to inject some gusto in their attacking rounds? Stop sitting in spawn?
Listen, I'm not the doctor, so I'm not going to profess to have a medical opinion here.
Okay.
But if I was one, I'd be thinking that a lot of this prostate needs to be removed. Like, just carving it out. A lot of this needs to be out of here because it's swollen, inflammatory, and causing big distress to the rest of the body.
Skadoodle? Is we dropping days and then going for
Who is the
2?
prostate in this? I don't understand exactly. Which person is personified as...
By the prostate, sorry, I mean I meant the prostate, the whole of T1. I mean that more people need to be carved out of this roster. I feel they don't have even a good nugget to build from. I don't understand even what the core of this team is.
That's kind of
the identity.
That's what I was getting at.
I don't get it.
The players they have, it's
who is it? Skadoodle and Spider.
Yeah,
maybe
that's kind of the core now, but I don't.
Curry is part of the core.
Yeah, sure. I guess just I was saying that based on the timeline. But I don't. One possibility. Yeah, I.
What's the direction? What's the prognosis?
I don't think it's unreasonable to just have a full prostate replacement. Just get an entirely new prostate. I don't think that's. I'm not sure if that's medically viable.
But where are you getting the new prostate from? Why wouldn't you just carve some of it out?
But I don't know. What is
you want to put a whole new prostate in there?
Is there any part of the prostate that you're really dying to keep?
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. What part?
The pleasure center, Spider.
God, you're a nasty man. You are a nasty man. You would really keep Spider? I don't think Spider's okay.
I would.
If we're T1 has spent $1 billion on this roster. There should be results.
Yes, there should.
T1 should not be playing for 10th place, which is what they've been doing all year. They came into the game, we're signing Brax, and we're signing him for $3 million or whatever the fuck it was. And then they bought all the old iBuyPower players. They bought out Automatic from Gen.G. They've spent a shitload of money on this team. They should be gunning for top. We should be going to. We should have Berlin possibilities. We should have champions possibilities. That's what seems to be the idea from the organization.
Yeah,
I feel like the organization has they committed to Valorant on day -50 when they signed Brax. They are in this for the actual win.
Then they have failed utterly and completely.
Yeah, they have absolutely failed on all accounts. They've made bad roster decisions. They have bad leadership and bad gameplay a lot of the time. Okay, but it seems to me it's true. Am I off?
Oh, just go fuck it off. Like,
I mean, you're getting that T1 head coach gig now, pal.
My point is, if I think it's a viable option for them to just remove the prostate,
Dignitas.
Get a new one.
Oh, right.
Just hit the reset button.
Okay.
There's a shitload of talent in NA on a lot of the unsigned, even lower tier teams. I think it's more reasonable to potentially build something new at this point.
Yeah.
There's no player on this team that I'm dying to keep. I think Curry has been good. Maybe keep him, and I don't know, maybe Curry and Skadoodle, but I don't understand Skadoodle's desire to want to play Astra. I don't understand it. Yeah. He is just one of the players.
Are we sure it's Skadoodle pushing it, or if it's just because of the fact that the team feels like they can't play it, so Skadoodle says, I'm going to play it because I'll try to flex for the team, right? Could it be an issue of Skadoodle saying, I need to do this because my team is incapable of functioning they can't play it, so I'm going to be the one to step in and do it, right? What if Skadoodle's in a roster where he doesn't feel the need to flex off of Duelist, and he can be on Duelist full time?
Yeah, I think that's possible, but also it doesn't really change the solution of being that you have to replace a large number of people.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying personally, I think Skadoodle would still. You could leave that one bit of flesh left in the pro state. You could leave that bit, the Skadoodle bit.
Yeah.
If I had my fingers up there,
I would happily keep
fingers multiple. You nasty man.
I would happily keep Skadoodle if we stop with this Skadoodle support theory.
Mm.
It's not even that he's necessarily bad on those roles. It's just that he has so much more to offer. It's painful.
Yeah.
So that would be a caveat to keeping him, I think.
It would be cool to see them pick up one of the rosters that still has gaps in it and use some of their existing personnel to fill those gaps. If they had picked up, I don't know, if they had picked up, who's one of the teams that just made a change? If they'd picked up the XSET lineup or the some of the players from NRG or whatever and tried to combine a pre-existing roster with theirs to make something that was better than both sides of the parts. I'm sure there are better examples.
Wasn't
than the ones that I just
also
listed.
on T1 Academy, by the way?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's just painful. They had EU and Rara on their academy team, man.
Yeah. They've passed over.
On.
I feel like their problem is that they just picked up a load of players that were known in CS that didn't transition effectively whatsoever.
And the automatics might still be... Go on, Balla.
Imagine if it worked, though. Imagine if they got the iBuy power core and it worked. That shit would have blown the fuck up. So
very true.
Hey, good risk in my mind.
It's fine to go for that, but I feel that they have meandered now in trying to revive the corpse of iBuy power for long enough. And having now discarded most of the major pieces, it's time to really address whether or not your necromancy skills are even applicable anymore. And so go for something fresh and new. I don't see how you fix T1. I don't see how it's possible. I don't think that their expectations and what they have can ever align. I just don't think so. And at some point, I think they've got to face that too.
I have a very structured approach here. Drop Skadoodle, bring in a passive IGL, and bring in ANs. Just start fucking going for it and just build this team up.
Build like a mixed Korean Western team.
Spider, ANS, and bring a passive IGL.
I have no idea how good ANS is at the moment, but probably a talent worth investing into. And also, I feel like you need to commit to the addition of Spider at the beginning was so weird because you have all of these like old veteran CS players, like old-timey NA pros that are part of the old boys club almost. Yeah. And then you're just throwing in not just a new player, not just a rookie player, but a rookie Korean player that doesn't even vibe with them on a like cultural North American basis. That was always destined to cause problems. I'd love to see them lean more into a mixed young roster and try and put Spider more in his comfort environment by injecting a lot of hungry young talent that comes from a variety of backgrounds into this team.
I
don't want to see them go for just proven talent at this point. I think you have to take a punt.
They need to put the money and effort that they put into buying a lot of these players out and into
selling them
into scouting and actually building up the young players that they have, missed out on.
Give up on Dreams of Champions. Give up on anything like that, and just
definitely
grow a smaller.
There are crazy free agents out there. They can. Rara is a free agent.
Caboose is a free agent.
We did.
Sure.
Well, supposedly Caboose is a free agent.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we don't know whether he's already locked in another team for sure, but that even ostensibly
that even like just that's who you just mentioned, Balla. Like if they hypothetically if they hit the reset button or even kept whatever, but like if they just got Rara and we did, that would have me way more interested in their future prospects than anything leading up to this point.
Yeah, Rara, we did Jammies. Who are the other monster free agents?
That sounds like a way better team than what they have right now.
They still have technically the theoretical possibility if they're going full reset just to bring up On since he hasn't played in the team yet, and then just put On into it,
if On's just ends up being nasty, sure. Cool.
Yeah. Put him in like a Zeppa scenario. I think looking at T1 through the same lens as Cloud9 will be really important for them because Cloud9 just ship a Theseus their way to success. They had They invested in a poor roster at the beginning. Okay, they didn't spend as much money as T1, and it was clear that roster did not have the room to proceed, even though they had a player that was fantastic, and they slowly replaced it piece by piece over time until they kept only one player who was IGLing for them and had an entirely different roster around them. And even then continue to iterate and have become good. That's the kind of transition that T1 need to undergo, I feel. But they also need someone at the helm who is just good at being able to do that. I believe it's time for an early Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Yes.
Because Wyatt must leave us
I must
after
depart.
This.
It's a Kurt, roll the tape.
Oh. I didn't see you there. It's time for Wyatt's Weekly Award. And dinner.
Yep. This is a simple one. We all know who it's going to. It's Wyatt's Weekly Award. It's going to Balla for the incredible performance, the astounding performance in the Code Red Boom TV 10K.
Want to take it?
You get the Chili Award.
Thank you. Oh wow, look. Wyatt's Weekly Award.
Yeah.
My mouth.
An incredible performance from Shabala Balzam.
Shabala. Wow.
You can see what I'm going for there, right?
Yeah.
The IGL, the jetting, the opping. You know what I mean? You can see I was going. It's a little.
No, I liked it. I liked it. Don't worry. I liked it. Keep going.
Perfect. Yeah, for the IGL skills, the ability to wrangle just not the greatest, okay players, well, not the best players, but the ability to bring them together under one roof and, dominate some content creators in a tournament.
We did actually shit on content creators.
Yeah, content creators can't stand up to us.
The only content creator that did well against us is Sean Garris' fucking Yoru on Bind.
That was infuriating.
That was...
against.
What a prick.
He's not even a content creator. He's a fucking pro. Like, what is this shit?
Yeah, but...
how is he even allowed to play?
I don't know.
He was only allowed to play because he hasn't gotten Radiant this season yet.
He had one game on Radiant.
We should be contacting the admins. I want that overturned. I want our second place. I want the $500.
Yeah. We had the same record as their team as well. We had a higher round differential too. We just lost the head-to-head. Just got unlucky, honestly.
Furious about that.
Just got unlucky.
Absolutely furious.
You guys are right on the cusp of Radiant, so you'll just get them next time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You'll get him next time.
Yep.
Very true.
Yep.
You should have seen Josh's star placement.
Oh,
grab was.
Oh, listen. My utility usage on point. My aim, awful.
Dude,
Awful.
You were still fucking top fragging some of those games though. Like you're just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Shitting
I was swinging, trading, and shooting them in the knees until they died.
And it worked.
It did.
It worked.
And it worked. That's all that matters.
And if y'all haven't seen Wyatt with a Vandal, well, he completely
the Vandal's overrated though.
He debunked Sideshow's video, just complete trash video.
The Vandal is not overrated.
He's just like fucking hitting heads on 50 FPS from what we can see.
Here we go.
I mean, look.
We got a little clip. The Phantom.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phantom difference. Straight out of the video.
Yeah.
Also, in this round, I sprayed 2 guys through a Viper's Pit with my Vandal and backs. Immediately debunked. Hold on.
We got 4 kills through smoke in this final round.
Oh, that was
4 kills through smoke.
Win.
Not bad.
Clean win.
Yeah, very clean win. A very clean win. We finished with a 13-0 over some other team as well. I can't remember.
That's KO's new ability, actually, is that he's just a big AC unit and he blows all the smoke away so you can walk through and not get sprayed.
God, that would be a great idea for a hero. For an agent, sorry. Yeah. You know how
he's
KO...
just a box fan.
Well, yeah, you know how KO is Killjoy's creation? Like, Raze is super popular in Brazil, right? And so the new agent is just this little boy that's Raze's #1 fan. But he takes it literally, and so he's the #1 fan, and he just carries around a hand fan with him everywhere.
Good thing I have to go. Because if I could choose, I would also leave, but I have to. Really good timing, honestly. I have to go now.
All right, goodbye.
Okay, bye-bye, Wyatt. There we go.
Goodbye.
Your award.
I'm going to dominate the middle of the table now. Okay, we've got
take
another...
the middle.
We've got another few things to be able to get through, but we are mostly through the end of the episode. There's a couple of important things, though, to take a look at. First one is Zellsis' punishment, handed down by Riot. So we ranked version 1 pretty highly when it came to our world power rankings based on what they were able to achieve, domestically and within Masters 2 Berlin. Masters 2 Reykjavik. But the thing that none of us really realized while the tournament was going on is that Zellsis had made some offensive remarks to staff who were at the event. Those remarks have not been recorded or posted anywhere, but Riot specifically used the terminology of players are not allowed to make discriminatory, but they also said sexist or racist. So presumably falling under at least one of those categories. And if it wasn't both, I'd be a little annoyed if I was Zellsis. I know that is an odd stance to take, the pro guy being a dick stance, but all I'm saying here is that the label of making racist remarks or sexist remarks, if it was a general statement, is a pretty big brush to tar people with. So I'm going to assume that it was applicable in this status or in this instance.
I mean, you just have to. Like, why would you assume otherwise?
Right, because otherwise Zellsis would presumably come out and be
well, considering he didn't come out and say like they were wrong, I don't think there's much to fight. Zellsis is like, I accept the punishment, which pretty much implies that he probably did something relatively bad. To warrant it. So
but what I mean is, but because Riot specifically used that terminology and Zellsis accepted it, I'm going to assume that it was both racist and sexist, right? Because that's the specific terminology that they used.
No, I don't think that's a good assumption.
Why not?
Because why does it need to be? They're just kind of clarifying what their rule is and saying. Well,
I don't. What was the actual
remarks in general?
What was the statement that they said? Did they specifically say like
if somebody says something racist, then they should be punished for it? Like no matter what, if they say something sexist, they should be punished for it. It doesn't have to be both.
But if you make a remark which is, I mean, they
didn't say anything about sexism or racism. They just said categorically offensive.
No, they do later down
in the sanction section, but that's just generally speaking about.
I mean, they're just saying generally speaking. Yeah, if there's any comments made on the basis of gender or race, Well, but on the direct violation.
I would assume as well that offensive comments made with people's sexuality are in direct violation of that, but they don't mention it. Do you not think that that's strange? Like, I think that the specific wording of this is okay. Maybe I'm just reading into it massively, but there's the way in which I was looking at this was when you don't write the remark itself down, then people don't know how bad it was, right? And so the only thing you read into it with is the sanction. What was the length of the sanction? What was the specific wording that they used? And because they say offensive comments made on the basis of gender or race, my immediate assumption is that it was an offensive comment made on the basis of gender or race, or both. Because why would they include that?
I see where you're going from now because they don't mention anything else that would also be inherently discriminatory, just those two things in particular.
I think you're just reading way too much into this.
But you might be reading too much into it, honestly. I'm not sure. I could see where you're coming from now that I read the sanction, though. I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I get it too. But
because also where I'm coming from too is I also understand that Riot is sometimes overbearing with their sanctions. And so even though I think it's very important to hold players to high standards, and I welcome punishments like this for players that do make offensive remarks, and I think it's a very good idea to crack down early on, I want to also be aware of things like if you do make a sexist remark and then they come out and say that making remarks on the basis of race is unacceptable, then that also implies that you made a racist remark too, which I think is a heavier brush with which to tar someone with. You know, if people later down the line are like, well, I don't support Zellsis because he's a racist. You know, that's like that's
and I think maybe the wording is specifically to not paint him with that brush.
Yeah, I see. I mean, also for me, I'm also interested to know, like, what's weird to me too is now we've had two separate instances where teams have got in trouble because of comments to staff already in Valorant. Like that was Zellsis, and also with the coach of 100 Thieves,
But also, version 1 weren't involved, as far as I can tell, in any drama at Reykjavik. And so
I wonder if it was like, it could be all sorts of things. It could have been like just it could have been a casual comment unrelated to the game. It could have been like something about getting in lobbies or like getting them to do something. Like there's all sorts of situations. But
I hope that people
it's just
learn
interesting
from
that we've
this,
had both these incidents so early in relation to staff relation. And also, I'm happy that Riot are willing to like immediately go to bat for admins and staff too, because sometimes I think players and like members of organizations are really quick, like on competitive side, are really quick to be like, these admins are so stupid and they're dumb and they don't do the job, and just like lash out at them immediately, and they don't ever get any support. It's like being the retail worker of the esports world. And like you're out there, like you're working the counter and the register, customers are coming in, and it's like, well, maybe you have that product in the back. And it's like, no, we don't. And then this instance, you're like, no, we have to follow the schedule. And the player's like, fuck you, you stupid idiot. You don't know what you're doing. And then like the TOs are like, whoa, guys, let's all chill out here. You know, the customer, the player don't want to get too mad. But I'm happy that Riot is immediately being like, no, you're stupid. Fuck you, players. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, actually, here's a suspension. Because I think admins historically have received a lot of shit in esports that is not necessarily their fault. Though also, I mean, sometimes they do fuck up. So yeah, it is fair.
No, I appreciate it. I think that you've got to get ahead of players being abusive or like you have to make sure that the players understand what is acceptable and what is not. And,
yes.
And you have to, especially at the beginning, make that line very clear to people. The players are also the public face of what is acceptable in your game. If the players are cheating or match fixing or being discriminatory or, you know, acting in unpleasant ways, it trickles down into the rest of your player base, and also the viewers watching just get that understanding that that behavior is acceptable, which is why you got to crack down on it super heavily. Otherwise, you don't have a game, you just have a cesspit. And
I actually like that it's we don't know what it is, because that's kind of telling us that it's not happening. Well, we don't see examples of it already, right? And when you see examples of it and you don't see punishment, and you see punishment in various certain situations, like that also, like you're saying, trickles down to the rest of the community, because people are talking about it constantly, and people are talking like certain people and whatnot. So yeah, I think this is good that they're going on it. I would like a little bit more detail because, like you're saying, Josh, like who knows where the scale is, right? Maybe this is a power tripping admin who got mad because Zellsis was doing something, I don't know, irrelevant. Like we don't know any of that detail. We have to trust Riot on this.
And I think you do trust Riot on this because Zellsis and the rest of version 1 have just attempted to fight back against it in no possible way. They have just accepted the punishment, and they have, internally Zellsis presumably realizes that he fucked up in this instance. So, it seems like it's very reasonable. Moving on from this as well, there was some Singaporean match fixing going on too, which I believe was also on top of some other shit happening in the region recently too. So I don't understand how Riot came to the knowledge of this occurring, but this was within the domestic scene. There'd been some match fixing going on, I believe back in the Ignition series, wasn't it? This report was from. And it's just been uncovered at this point now. There are many, many ways in which Riot could become aware of this. I think in this instance, one of the people involved leaked evidence, essentially, to them. But this situation is quite interesting because some of the players on the team got reprimanded, even though they didn't want to be involved because they just didn't disclose it to Riot or the tournament organizer. They just kind of, I don't know whether hid it is the right word, but they didn't make it known that their teammates were match fixing, even though they knew some of their teammates were match fixing. So they received sentences, albeit lower ones.
Yeah, I mean, it was all exposed by another player in the Singapore community called like Kalel, and they had like a Google Doc, that had the evidence within it.
Right.
And so this is how it was all came out, was that this player sort of dropped this tweet this little tweet, and it had the doc in it, and that's how it all came out.
Yeah. This is fucked. I mean, we all realize that match fixing is going to happen in Valorant. It is a enormous problem in Counter-Strike. If you think that it's just going to magically disappear in Valorant for no good reason, it just won't. So, especially in smaller regions where they don't have the same level of salaries, they don't have the same level of opportunity. If they can make easy money by match fixing, people will. So it's important to have a multi-pronged approach, both in terms of cracking down on it and offering more opportunities to smaller regions in terms of giving them support to potentially give them salaries. If you give people salaries of any size, they are dramatically much less likely to fix matches because they take their job more seriously. It's almost always tier 2 or people with no opportunities that end up fixing matches. But it just makes me itchy and anxious for ESIC reports, you know? Like, they're the only people in the scene who are doing something more than following up on evidence when it's blatantly laid out in a Google Doc. Riot doesn't have a big investigative arm that can go and deal with this shit. And the only people that can are currently embroiled with the FBI trying to solve stuff in a different game. It's a big problem that needs a lot of resources, and at the moment it doesn't have them.
Yeah. There is lengths of bans as well for the people who are like directly involved. It's 36 months or 3 years. So that's a stark contrast to, you know, what iBuyPower got all the way back, and they also varied the bans like you said. So I think that can lead to us kind of understanding how they feel about match fixing and where they go with that. I think that there's a lot of people who see this and they're like scared to what could happen if some of the players in the NA and stuff got banned for only 36 months. People were like, this is too short and blah, 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 blah. But to me, it fits. Like, yeah, it's terrible, but 3 years is a lot to be banned from the game.
That's a long time. Yeah.
That is a long time. So
most people who are competing are either in their late teens, early 20s. 3 years at that point is a sizable portion of your life, and especially a sizable portion of short esports careers. It is pretty sizable. I don't think you need to go lifetime ban. I think lifetime bans are they're too much. I think people can change. And also, if 3 years later you're still match fixing again, that's just insanity. I mean, surely during the 3 years you've done something else with your life, and you don't need to rely on match fixing to be able to generate some income. Plus, you would have
I think it depends on the severity of it, right? Though, like if it's like a single match and like a tier 2 thing, and like you're like an 18-year-old and you're trying to make some money, I can see like, okay, 3 years, 2-3 years, something like that. Like, but if you're like, because personally, I do think age should have a factor in it, in a sense, like, and also what stance in the community you hold. If you're like a tier, like I said, if you're like a tier 2 player that's 18 and you make like a bet like for a couple hundred or like 1,000 or something, like, okay, that's not like insane. That's like you're trying to make some money, but you still need, it violates competitive integrity. But if you're like 23, 24, you're on a tier 1 team and you're making bets, you should know better. You should 100% know better, and the stakes are higher because you're competing at a higher level too, and likely there's more money involved too at that point. So in that point, I would be like, yeah, sure, lifetime ban, right? Like, it really depends on what stand. I think there needs to be like a little bit of like leniency in terms of like where we view it, like what's the lens we're viewing it through, right? Like 16, 18-year-old kid, tier 2 team, tier 3 team, whatever, like, okay, like they have time to reform. There's not huge stakes involved. They're not a giant figure in the community. But big tier 1 pro on a tier 1 team that's older, like, you should know better, and the stakes are way higher. So then, in my opinion, I think a punishment that is longer or indefinite is far more worthy.
I think it's very rare that it happens at the tier 1 level, though. It's like almost, as far as I'm aware, it's almost unheard of that these matches at like a top level ended up getting fixed. It normally occurs at a lower level, so then you're kind of attacking an epidemic at that level.
I think you're right, but there are examples in other esports scenes like StarCraft where it happens at the tier 1 level.
Sure.
So and obviously tier 1 level will probably have will be stakes and scales way above anything. One more point I wanted to make is that like the reason why the other teammates were banned is because the guy told them, and then they obfuscated the fact that they were, they weren't going along with it. They were upset, and then they broke up the team, but they concealed the fact that it was happening to their management and admins and whatnot. And some of them corroborated with the investigation and whatnot. Not always is the motive for match fixing very obvious, right? Yes, it could be money, obviously, but it could also be they are literally being threatened or blackmailed, or some other shit could be going on that you just have no clue. And even investigations and bans or whatever don't tell you the full story always. In a lot of cases, from what the ESIC guys have been saying, and some other people who were involved in match fixing at the sport level in soccer and tennis and whatnot, like, mobs are involved, violent people are involved, and I don't think that it's completely out of the question for stuff, especially in the Asian region, that to be the case in esports as well. So I just don't necessarily, I caution people to judge at the fullest extent without necessarily thinking of what potentially could be going on behind the scenes as well.
Sure, but even in those scenarios, banning people from being able to play competitively is a good thing, because then they don't have the opportunity to even do that. So you can't get forced to match fix in matches you are not allowed to play in. So there is that leverage then kind of becomes missing. There is that the organized crime element, or the betting sites that are looking for candidates to fix those matches, would have to look and turn their attention elsewhere, which at least solves some portion of that. And maybe you can dig in deeper with the players to try and tackle the root of the issue, which is, in some scenarios, either organized crime or betting websites that themselves are incredibly morally corrupt. It's a horrible side of the game to dig into. It's absolutely wild. But yeah, if you thought that Valorant was going to be dodging match fixing, you were sorely mistaken. It will 100% happen. Another quick little thing here. Na'Vi are looking to enter the scene, reportedly. Who was this that reported this one? Is it George Geddes again?
It was also George Geddes, yeah.
He's just got everything, hasn't he? He's got his finger on the pulse of fucking everything. So Navi's a massive organization. I think, am I right in saying they're the biggest CIS organization? They certainly feel like it.
VP?
Sure, Virtus Pro,
I think they're the
massive
best,
as well.
Or the biggest, but I think they're up there with VP.
Right.
And like Gambit is slightly below them.
But Navi are a big, well-respected organization looking apparently to make their entrance into Valorant by investing in CIS talent. I would love to see this. I absolutely welcome this. The CIS scene is really small. People in Russia and the rest of CIS, they fucking love Counter-Strike. I don't know whether Valorant is ever going to win over CIS more so than Counter-Strike. I just don't even know whether that is feasible. But at least they're investing some resources into that region. And we've already seen with Gambit that there's crazy players there. So I think this is really cool.
Yeah. They're apparently picking Cloud from Crow Crowd, which is the team that Durka came from, or was it Magnum who came from?
Yes, no, Durka came from Crow Crowd, yeah.
Okay, so that guy Cloud is going to spearhead the roster, according to George Geddes and his sources. So who knows? I also heard a rumor that they were looking into one of the CIS teams. I forgot what their name was, but it had like SSK7 on the team.
Which that's worst players, isn't it?
Worst
players. Yeah.
They were looking into maybe taking that core and mixing it in with some other pieces as well. So I don't know. I think this is really interesting, and I hope that they can not pull a T1.
Yeah, not pull a T1. Pull a T1. I mean, at the end of the day, more orgs is always better than less, right? And having more people, especially I think in Europe and that area, to just bring up the overall level of investment is important currently, because NA is like the golden goose. And so there needs to be just some ways to help that a bit, I think. I do love that they're splitting you, that Kurt is splitting you. Yeah, that was like splitting the two different camera boxes, but it's overall pretty interesting, all things considered. I think, and no one, especially with CIS being relatively promising.
Yeah, it is also the most interesting part about this, in my opinion, is that CIS gets cock all viewership. I mean, tiny, tiny, tiny viewership. For the quality of the players, it has the lowest viewership of proportionally any region. When you think about how good the CIS teams are and the players are, there's a couple thousand people watching the games. It's tiny. So the fact that Navi are even willing to invest indicates that they, to me, either they believe that viewership is going to grow, which I don't think it will particularly, or they are looking to find a team that's good enough to get into EMEA finals, where the viewership is larger. It's within 100,000, 200,000. Or they're looking to go and see if they can get to Berlin, where the viewership is 300,000, 700,000, 1 million if you're able to get to the finals or whatever. So I think that if you are going to invest in the CIS region, you've got to make a God squad. You really have to, in order to get any of your money back in terms of eyeballs on your content. So it puts the stakes pretty highly for Navi. They've got to convert on this. This isn't some dribbly North American organization where they can just pick up some all-right players and still get 100K people watching them. These guys have got to make it to EMEA or bust if they want any kind of return on investment. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's sick. I think Navi is an org that can do it. They have the infrastructure. They've proven that they can make Counter-Strike teams over multiple years, different rosters and whatnot. So they know what they're doing in attack FPS, unlike some other orgs. So potentially they could do it. I think their path to making a CIS team is much smarter than them investing in a team that's going to compete in the EU circuit. I think that's much harder. And CIS, there's definitely some top dollars at the top, like Gambit and who is it? One Breath Gaming, who just beat them recently, and almost
Forza
took them out in the finals. Forza as well, but I mean, four teams out of and 2 of them are going to go forward. I think they can compete with that if they give the right infrastructure to the team that they're feeling.
Yep. Okay. Exciting times. There's also a bunch of European roster changes that we'll get to next week because we're running late in terms of this show. There's some shuffles happening over in Brazil and Korea, which I'm sure we'll get to once some tournaments have been played as well. We're not going to try and bust out every single roster change in this episode. But honestly, I'm just excited to see what happens now. I'm wondering, have we missed anything when it comes to the new agent? Have there been any breaking? Oh, they have
released the full breakdown of the abilities.
Let's go.
Okay, so that's how we're going to end this episode then. Let's just take a quick look.
It in the Valorant chat. So for us, but essentially they went ahead and they dropped the full. And also, by the way, remember that 15-second timer you saw for KO, Josh? Yeah, if he is killed while in ult, you can revive him.
I fucking knew it. Kurt knew it. We'd seen it. It was Apex Legends. He's down on the floor holding his shield, wandering around with a self-revive. All right.
His teammates can stabilize his core and revive him while he's in ult.
Okay. All right. Let's start. Before we get to the ultimate, though, let's start with the abilities. Have we got the... Oh, okay. Here we go. The breakdown from Valorant News from a Deserto article. Ability 1, 0 point. So this is the knife.
Yes.
So it's not a quick cast. You have to equip it and then throw it. It sticks to the first surface it hits, winds up, and suppresses anyone.
So you don't actually have to hit them directly.
Anyone, though. So in order to disable a Cypher's trips, you have to hit the Cypher wherever they're holding. Yes. That makes it difficult, honestly. Because they could be playing bloody anywhere. Like, unless you have some information.
You're peeking somebody. You have to peek somebody. It doesn't bounce, right? So it's like...
Yeah, but it does have an AoE once it lands. You don't have to literally hit the agent.
Yeah, it's like a Sova Dart, but it suppresses if you're able to hit them.
But also,
I imagine if you sit around cover, it won't hit them and stuff. So.
It didn't look like it was Sova Dart in terms of the range, though. Sova Dart is like, 30 meters? This I think, looked like it was only 5, 6, something like that, meter radius. So that is very interesting. So why does it say right-clicking the flashbang?
I think that's supposed to go under ability too, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some good instances for using the knife? I'm thinking like you're pushing up Haven C, you think they're holding logs, so you throw the knife at logs?
Yeah.
Why would you want to peek with your knife out?
Well, also, I mean, you don't have to throw it at, you could also throw it like behind crates too, not just logs, because theoretically it would be able to clear that whole backside area in a way if you hit it, depending on which side of the box, which side of the Radiant crate you hit it. So
if it's got a big enough radius.
Yeah, that's true. If it has a big enough radius. So we don't really know what the radius of it is, but if it could clear the whole back site, like if you can throw it on the other side of the Radiant crate, like above the crate where people generally like an Astra would play with their star, like ready to pop stars, you could hit the Astra, suppress them, and then be able to walk on the side a lot easier.
So, what do we think suppressing just means no abilities used?
That's what it's been confirmed. Suppressing means that you cannot use abilities while suppressed.
So, yeah, that's pretty. I mean,
I'm thinking like trying to disable a jet dash before the execute happens.
Yeah.
Ooh, using it defensively. I was only thinking in my brain about KO on attack. Yeah, on defense, that is pretty huge for shutting down utility coming into the site. But yeah, and also
I just still can't get over the fact that you're gonna have to peek somebody. You have to have them in the line of sight because it doesn't bounce. So,
but can you do lineups?
No.
Can you do lineups?
Well, I mean, there are some lineups, and you could throw it like maybe over like the top to hit the top of like corners of geometry and stuff, and like have it like I'm thinking like a Sova Dart, where you just can't bounce it.
Dude, what's just come through my head is, you know Lothar's tweet where he said set up lineups for the Vipers lineups. You could maybe set up lineups for knife lineups so that they would hit common lineup spots
areas. Yeah.
So then there's just
also you could throw it way up in the air and it comes down, right? So like, you know, there's
from
options.
What I saw in the video, it did not seem like it arced. It did not seem like it had a projectile.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a projectile, but it didn't seem. It was just hit scan type of.
But it seemed tough to tell, right? So
okay, well, anyway, Flash. But I love that they've called it a flash drive, and then fragment. Terrible. Yeah. All right. Equip a flash grenade. Fire to throw. The flash grenade explodes after a short fuse, blinding anyone in line of sight. So it's a little... I mean, that just sounds like they're trying to make it very similar, honestly, to a CS flash, is what this seems like, except it doesn't bounce. It just... Because you can right-click the flashbang to...
The right-click cooks it. Yeah, where it just it flashes sooner. So versus essentially it's like close to half the time. It'll just like immediate pop flash type of thing.
Right.
I'll have to play with this because it's just a flash, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm assuming this does have projectile. I mean, we saw when he underhanded it, it went out like that, and that's when you guys thought it was like a curveball.
Yeah,
I'm guessing it's like a flash. I love that they split the time that it takes to cook because that was one of the issues is underhanding things. Like it takes the same amount of time to pop, so it's just like whatever. This is more of a pop flash when you use it for yourself, but 1.6 seconds. Like I don't know how this I don't know how fast it's going and stuff like that. So I just don't know. It just seems cool. I like CS flashes.
I don't really like adding more flashes into the game. I feel like there's so many flashes already in there. I'd like to see more creativity in terms of initiators than just giving every single agent a flash. Like all of the recent agents have all had flashes, haven't they? The KO, Yoru, Sky, Reyna.
Yeah.
I guess Killjoy
Astra
is the only one that hasn't. Oh, sure, Astra as well. But everything that's been a duelist or an initiator that they've released has had a flash. Right? I think yeah. I'd love for them to get a little more creative like Sova, but I guess this is still creative enough. It has the whole anti-utility.
I think that having a lot of flashes in the game is fine if we continue to go big maps. Like Breeze, I'm fine with flashes. But these small maps are impossible to deal with 7 flashes or something like that. Like even just one person playing Breach on some of these small maps is so frustrating to play against in some cases. So having more is just like, But on the larger maps, I'm fine with that. CS has 10 flashes. Make it 20 on both sides. You know?
Yeah.
So
ability 3, a frag grenade. Fire to throw. The frag sticks to the floor and explodes multiple times, dealing near lethal damage at the center with each explosion. Explodes multiple times.
Interesting. I wonder then how many times will it explode? If it explodes multiple times, that seems really strong, right? Because like, especially imagine comboing that with like an Astra suck, where you capture them there, and if it explodes like 2 to 3 times, you could essentially kill like 2 to 3 people.
It seems like the same power as a Raise-nade, or same delay length as a Raise-nade or something. Maybe. Because that has the initial explosion, and then each of the clusters explodes. So it's not just damage, it's also time that you're denying an area.
Yeah.
I guess that's the goal here as well, is that it takes time that you can't go into this. You can't just dodge one explosion and then push. There are multiple things, so it's area denial as well as just kill potential, I suppose.
The radius looks smaller than paint shells because paint shells can spread and whatnot.
Yes, yeah. And it sticks. It doesn't bounce. So you can't bounce it off walls or anything. You can't get it into as creative a position.
Well, it sticks to the floor, so I assume it bounces off walls, yes?
Oh, okay. Good point. I had assumed it would just stick to everything, but yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That would be interesting if it only sticks to the floor.
I don't like near lethal damage with nade. Like, I don't know. This feels...
I mean, to use your CS analogy, there could be 20 nades on either side as well.
Yeah, but those are like, they have to be... Frag nades in CSGO specifically are really, really hard to get value out of. You use them to deny areas, really, but they unless you're throwing 3, it's almost very unlikely that you're going to get a kill off of it, and then boom, it's gone. There's no... It's just that small instance you use it so that you're conditioning people and whatnot. In this game, with the fact that it insta-kills in some cases, if you throw it right, and it denies for multiple seconds in some cases... It's not exactly the same, which is fine. I like that it's different, but I just don't like near lethal damage. That just hurts me. That hurts me.
Yeah. Okay. And then his ultimate ability, which I think is going to be the most... I think this is easily going to be the most controversial of all of his abilities. The instantly overload with polarized radianite energy. Law sentence. You instantly cause large energy pulses to emit from his location. Enemies hit with these pulses are suppressed for a short duration. That's interesting because it implies that you need line of sight, right? Like you need to actually hit the energy pulses. You can dodge his ult.
Which makes it a lot less strong.
Everything that he has kind of requires LOS.
Yeah.
That's a big nerf to him. If you're thinking about like how you're actually going to be able to pull it off in a game, because you're always going to expose yourself to just getting domed while you're trying to pull one of these things off.
I mean, maybe that's why they gave him the flash potentially, so the flash can set up, like the flash and the nades are able to set him up to get more LOS opportunities. That's what I'm thinking.
On top of that, what do you guys think about the downed state of KO? If he's killed while overloaded, he is downed, and you can run over and revive him. That is, I mean, people are gonna clown on that shit because it looks like battle royale games, and people from tactical FPS just have a boner for hating on that kind of shit. But it is a really interesting mechanic from battle royales. It's a really interesting because you force other people to very predictable locations to try and help their teammates. So it's not like you can always get him back up. It's not the same as a Phoenix ult where he's just instantly back in the fight. You have to compromise your own positioning to try and resurrect him.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the other thing too. If he can't like crawl or anything, if he's downed and he's just like downed, then it changes the way, like I was about to make the comparison to a Phoenix ult, but then I realized Phoenix ult, you always go back to a safe position afterwards. No one has to help you. But if you are the initiator and you're entering here with this and you get downed like somewhere bad on site and your team has to come rescue you, there's no guarantee they can even get you up if you can't move, if you're just stuck there. Like, because then they require a lot more utility. Like you might need like a sage wall to just come res, right? To get that to get you up. Like you'll need like something else to allow you to be able to get that. Like it just depends on where they go down, I guess. And to me, it almost means that like this ability is great for like you entry into the site, but you don't go too deep. Like you use it to take a site, but you can't go too deep and chase like you can Phoenix, because if you go too deep and get caught, it's impossible to revive you. But if you just use it to take the site proper, but not go too far, then even if you go down like somewhere right past the choke, then it's fine, because like you can, once you get onto the site proper, you can just revive them later. So
yeah, I think that it's necessary actually for this ult. Again, the line of sight thing makes it so that you have to expose themselves. I'm thinking of a scenario where you are getting line of sight through Viper Wall or something like that. Not necessarily line of sight because it's broken by the Viper Wall, but the pulses go through it or something like that, where you're kind of safe and you're pushing. But again, without being able to see it, I don't know. But again, without this revive thing, you have to take so much risks with this agent.
Yeah,
you just have to. I feel like this agent on paper right here, from what I'm reading and without seeing anything, is going to be useless.
I don't know. I could see, like, you know, the more I read about this ultimate ability and the rest of this, I could see him. He's essentially the berserker. And like what you're going to do with them is that you play like a Sky or a Breach and you flash him in and he pops the ult. And then the whole point is that he gets on site and he might be able to kill someone, maybe, but who cares? The whole thing is he's ulting, flash him in, and he runs the fuck in just to suppress everyone, and then he gets shot and is down, but then everyone's suppressed, and then you get in and clean up, and then you revive him. To me, that's what I see. That's what I see, like him working as.
Yeah, I think that sounds great, but that's surrounding an ultimate. And when I look at his abilities themselves, depending on the power of the nade, if that's strong, okay, maybe there's a case to be made. But all the other abilities, I can get a flash with Sky that gives me info. I don't need to peek to suppress shit.
His bread and butter, the thing that you're going to try and get value out of every single round is that ability 1. It's 0
It's
point.
a gimmick.
Because you can get value out of nades and flashes from everybody else, and you can't pick an agent just to play off their ultimate. You can farm ult orbs all fucking day long, but you still need some ability to win rounds with it without the ultimate online. So he needs to be able to get value from this 0 point, from the suppressive blade. Unless there's lineups that you can make for that shit, how on earth are you getting value consistently out of that on attack? How do you peek people and get suppressive?
I think he has to be supported with like flashes or something, like something to allow him to get in to.
But are you telling me you're peeking with the blade instead of your gun? You would have to be throwing the blades around corners to try and catch players who are playing in positions that are hidden from you. But then you need info that they're there. So if I'm imagining like bind, I'm attacking on bind. Where do I throw my knife? Do I try and throw it into hookah in case there's a guy playing there to clear it? Okay, well, I'm still going to have to take... Well, then I can flash and try an entry. Sure, it's a little safer, but it's not better than using arrays. Do I try and get a knife into hookah so the player in hookah can't use flash peeks on us? Sorry, a knife into lamps so the player in lamps can't flash peek us or something?
Or Molly or something?
Yeah, or like, can you do elaborate lineups to triple if you know there's someone playing there? It feels theoretically like a low impact agent, which is kind of cool actually, because I thought they might make this guy fucking busted. And they still might. There might be stuff that we're overlooking that makes him crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what if he has 10 knives or some bullshit like that? Just fucking throws them everywhere.
We don't know how many knives he actually has. Or like, it just depends on the mechanics, right? Of how it's going to work. And also the mechanics of how the tagging for it is going to work too. Because theoretically, even if there weren't great lineups, but like it was a way to, if it was somehow able to bypass LOS or something, then it'd still be really strong.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, if it had like a recon darts radius, that would still be crazy strong. You combine the flash and the thing so that people can't shoot the knife, and suddenly,
Wonder if it disables like Killjoy stuff and Cypher trips if you hit Killjoy or Cypher, but what if you hit like a Brim or an Omen? Does it disable their smoke? Does it just like disappear?
Ooh, that would be interesting.
I feel like probably not. But without that, how do you actually do anything against Brim or Omen? Like their smokes are
also, remember in the reveal trailer when he was entering on to Haven, I think it was on A site, and there were stars set up and he threw the knife. Did it tag the Astra and allow them to get in?
Probably, yes. But then Astra isn't the same. Astra has to actually use her abilities to pop those stars.
It's not something that's currently active and out, right?
Yeah, we don't really know. Whether...
well, the Astra was the Astra was back in sewers. Yeah, she was in short. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, this gameplay trailer is
it leaves a lot to the imagination in terms of like what the hell how is it? That's the real question, right? How does the knife work? How does this knife work? And also, it appears that also like the timer, you're also going to be you have the timer to get him back up. He's not just infinitely able to get up whenever. You can't just leave him as like some sort of like.
How quickly can you revive him as well, though? If it takes like a significant time to sit there and like, then that makes his ult a lot weaker too. If you can just run over and tap him and he's straight back into the fight, that's way stronger. A lot of that, like, how much time do you have to spend in an open environment helping your teammate? That could also really affect things. A cool agent, though. I'm excited to try it, and I'm glad that they didn't just make something boring and broken. This does require understanding of where your opponents are going to be positioned to get value out of the knife. There's a timing element. There's a risk involved as well. I think that this is a good way of implementing anti-utility into the game, because it will be hard to get value out of. If it was some boring shit, like you just stick that knife on the spike and nobody can molly you, that would be awful. So I'm glad that they've implemented it at least in an interesting way, even if it isn't the most effective way.
I'm just thinking of how and when are people going to implement them, and I'm thinking of the current, meta in terms of picking initiators and whatnot. Breach has fallen completely out of the meta, almost except for Korea. And the reason for that is because the other initiators are better. Sova, Sky, both of them are getting info for you. This one is not. It's not doing that whatsoever. And the only real initiation is the nades and the flashes, which, could be really good. But
yeah. Okay, well, still a lot of questions, but it's something that I'm excited to see content creators kind of mess around with next. Actually, tomorrow will be very interesting. All right. Thank you for joining us on this escapade through a wild episode. Was there something else, Kurt?
Yeah, we got a new member from last week, and I wanted to shout him out.
A new member?
Welcome to member Parker Monk. Appreciate your support.
Welcome to member. Thank you. I appreciate everybody who is still supporting the channel as well. We'll have plans to do live streams later on, but as for now, we're just continuing with this level of stuff going on. And perhaps we'll be doing more of the Plat Strat stuff that we posted this Monday too. But we will be back with Back Chat next Monday as well. So we'll be back to our more regular schedule moving forwards, and certainly when there's more matches coming up too. Subscribe to the channel. You'll see all of the cool content that's coming out, not just the regular podcast, but our interview series and the strats kind of stuff. And be sure to follow us on Twitter as well, so that you can tell when we're participating in stuff like the Boom TV tournament where we placed 3rd. Have we mentioned that yet? Did we mention that at any point?
Yes, you have mentioned that. You have.
We didn't mention that.
All right,
$1,000.
yeah. We're all pumped. Ego's massive. See you in the next episode.